Damn, Jake. I literally just posted the freaking thing like 30 seconds ago. Didn't even have the mic. Like, I unmuted the mic just to say hello. Still in the load. I need to come up with like a little timer, like a stream start timer. But for the game, this little spinning icon works. I haven't even put the link in the Delta V Discord yet, because they let us put stream and video links in their Discord for the game. So, I'm still doing that. Oh, wow. Then not even through Discord, through YouTube. I'm surprised. Normally, YouTube seems to take like 8 minutes on average before people get notified. Some of it, yes. Some of it, no. Tonight's just gonna be kind of a screwing around. Um, I do record, but I'm no longer like doing specifically a single page wiki thing in my head anymore. Hunting. I'm just kind of like playing, and then whatever wiki stuff, I just go back through footage like, oh yeah, I remember I did that here a minute ago. Let's go grab some images. So it's a little bit easier and less stressful doing it that way, I think. And I haven't done anything in the wiki pages for the game in like a week and a half. So, I don't know. Been too busy doing a bunch of other stuff. And now I'm going to be even more busy because I'm driving. I think it's 2,000 miles. So that's 0.6? No, 1.5. So 3,000 kilometers I'm driving in a couple of weeks, which I'll be setting up the car for the recording like I did with the road trip video. Do the same thing again, do another road trip video on the channel. And going to Michigan to build race trucks, or race cars and mud trucks. Less build, more tune. Yeah, and I've got to, so I'm going to have a stream this week. I thought I was going to do it tomorrow, but being a holiday here in the US, Labor Day, first Monday of September, nothing's going to be open tomorrow, which means I can't go get steel. I wish we had frickin' network coverage that I could do that. I really, really do. I tried it when I did the trip from Utah to Arizona in January, but I got 50 miles before I ran out of service. And then it was another 100 miles before I was back into service again. So, like, there's no way. Without Starlink, which, if I get to a point with the channel where that's what I'm doing, because the dream is kind of like traveling YouTube mechanic, I would love to go around the country working on the cars or lawnmowers or just machinery of YouTubers, and I have like an NDA. I sign an NDA. I won't tell people what their real name is. I won't show them any invoices, blah blah blah. They don't have to worry about getting doxxed if they don't want to, because I understand, because I do kind of the thing, and make sure that they're okay with me saying like what city and state I'm in. But if they don't want their name associated or the channel name associated with the vehicles and the place, keep all of that separate. Like, hey guys, here I'm in, Brooklyn working on, which I'd never go to Brooklyn, but for example, working on Jim Jack Joe's car today, blah blah blah. Everybody, like, at some point people were like, oh, it must be some YouTuber, but they won't know who, right? There'll be no way to correlate who it is outside of people that already know who it is, in which case they're not going to care anyway. Also, OBS, why are you telling me to sign into chat? I'm streaming. I'm signed into chat. I guess that's just my key to open up Studio and have Studio on the screen. I need a third monitor. I really, really do. Like, this two monitor thing for streaming is just like not very good at all. So, yeah, I really, really wish I could do road trip streams. That would be phenomenal. Because then you guys could get to see me yelling at the dumbasses on the road. Because there's no way I'd be able to filter that out. Not one bit. Because people are dumb everywhere, but there's some people in various places around the U.S. that they're just much more badder than others at some things. Like there's regions that are worse at this particular aspect of operating heavy machinery. Yep. 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 We all know those. Also, my webcam says it's on and powered, but you're not supposed to be on and powered because I'm not using you. Which means I need to go and check. Yeah, why? If I'm here. Oh, okay. Um, OBS, do the thing. Really? Really? There we are. OBS is being kind of stupid right now. Thank you. Now turn back on. Uh-huh, uh-huh. And then you should turn off. You're not turning off. Huh? Well, apparently OBS is feeling very stupid tonight. I had to restart the computer, for whatever freaking reason, because I plugged the mic in, and for whatever reason, it decided it wanted to have just a bunch of noise constantly. It was just static. It was just the microphone was just going constantly, and I have no idea why. Restart the computer, and now my audio settings for the mic are all back to the way that I set them up in the first place. Yeah, OBS is kind of it's a whole thing. But now that we are, bam, I'm not doing webcam because lights aren't set up and I'm not set up and blah 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 blah, etc. etc. I'm just gonna play a little bit of a game. I also think that I should hold on. I think you're already up. This guy. Yeah. I don't know if it's a bad idea to show your user tree on stream or not. But back up my save game. Before we get into this, just in case, I just got onto the experimental branch, which is, experimental. And we're gonna see how that goes. What I should do, I should figure out how it structures the save game names for each of the slots and see if I can't duplicate it to a slot. That's not tonight, that's later. Right now, I'm just gonna get into the game, assuming it doesn't crash. Because sometimes it likes to do that when I'm streaming and or recording and or playing simultaneously. So, where are we at? We don't need to fix anything. Okay. And there's a whole community inside of the game community that does name hunting for ships because they're random and they're based on the game seed, I guess. So I always come in and see if there's anything like really funny that will take over for one of my ships. What the hell's a celerity? Yeah, I like that one too. It doesn't fit with the ship though, the K-37. It should be if it was a masochistic buffoon on the Kothon, this hunk of crap, I'd probably get it and swap it out for one of mine because I have every ship except for the one that you can only get through a quest. I must have sold it or I never encountered it. But it's supposed to be guaranteed through the quest. And once the quest is done, you can't like go back and get it again. So if I want it, I have to go and start a new save and do it all over again, which I will do here eventually, but I'm achievement hunting right now, and the achievements I'm hunting is flying in specific ships for some period of time. Why why would a username be randomly generated? I mean, I get it. High school kids, right? Like, yeah, but still. Then there was me in high school. I downloaded and distributed a instant messaging. Oh God, dear Lord, why were those even in there? Yeah, thanks YouTube. Dick nuts. YouTube's stupid. I don't have any of the mod settings turned on for YouTube, and yet what does it do? It blocks stuff. Like I want people to say whatever the Jesus Christ. Whatever the fuck they want to say. Voice away. God damn it. Why were those even in the pool of names? Honestly. Dear Jesus. Oh. But I was in the middle of the kamikaze one got me. I would download and distribute instant messaging platforms, which Mercora was a thing back in the day. It was the equivalent to Yahoo Instant Messenger, but it was portable and lightweight. You didn't have to install it. You could run it directly from the executable. And the network administrator in my high school thought she was fancy. She would go in and she would use the anti-malware software that the school used to block, wait for it, the name of the executable. Which, granted, this was like 2004, so fairly primitive anti-malware software in the first place. But she'd go in, people would come to me and be like, "Hey, man, Mercora's not working anymore. Is there anything that we can do?" I was like, "Give me 2 days. It'll be back up." And I'd go in and just rename the executable, move it to a different folder because every time the software would flag it and say this executable was prevented from running, it would ping her email and would tell her where it was. So I'd move it in the network to somewhere else, redistribute the link to people. So all they had to do was have a link on their desktops and they just update the links. And I told them, don't, like, everybody make sure you have a different icon for this. I give them a little thing, how to change the icon or whatever, and what to make it and how to make it do something different. And did it? Blah 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 blah. My says it's still going. Do you hear me now? Hello, hello, hello. Ba blah, ba blah, ba 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 ba. Well, that's uh, hmm. That's weird. The whole time OBS is just like, yeah, no, we're good, bro. Maybe YouTube funny silliness? I also like Vacuum Whisper, but Vacuum Whisper makes more sense on the Kitsune. But yeah, I'd tell all the kids how to circumvent the anti-malware thing, and at one point she figured out who was doing it and started doing stuff with my private folder, quote unquote private folder on the network. It was stuff where we were supposed to it was 100 meg. So we put in, documents, just text documents for homework or whatever, and we could submit stuff to the teachers that way. And she started like messing with my files for some reason. I don't know, like she wouldn't like delete schoolwork stuff, but I had other stuff in there that wasn't necessarily schoolwork, and some of that would like disappear and it would move around and it would get renamed. And I'm like, nobody's got my password. Nobody's getting into my folder. I know how this whole thing's like working. Nobody in the school's smart enough to even think about trying to do that. Like the only person that makes sense is the IT person, which I don't know. I assume it was her. It might not have been. I genuinely have no idea. But I left a Word document with her name on it in my folder one time, and I put in the biggest letters that Microsoft Word would let you put at the times. It was like Word 98, right? So it was not very. You could put a word per line, I think, or 3 letters per line at the size that I had it. And I said in not so very nice terms, stay out of my folder. This is on a public network, yes, but my private area. This is my data. You can delete it when I'm gone, but leave it alone right now. And it never happened again. It happened twice. I made the Word document, and then it didn't happen. So, like, oh, that's why I had this. Okay. Okay, okay, I remember. Uh, 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 Okay, back to Le Guillaume, I think. So we're waiting on these to get repaired. Can we get insurance? No, we can't. Okay. I'm running out of money. I need to get some hours in flying this guy, so let's go fly this guy. How about that? What do I need to do? Nothing. I can go there, I guess. Let's go there. Fast forward. Oh, you want to see the tips? Where's the tips? You can drag your autopilot vector with the left mouse button for fine adjustments. How do you like my British accent? Oh damn, that dumped me out way far away. People in the Discord are like, "Yeah, the Kitsune is so fast. This thing is slow as crap. Maneuverable, but it's slow." You know what boggles my mind is fucking Hugh Laurie. Hugh Laurie, one of the most British people you will ever meet, which I did not know when I was watching House. My first encounter with Hugh Laurie is watching the American TV show House. He does a flawless. I thought for sure he was from the East Coast of the U.S. And then I saw, or I guess I rewatched. I guess I realized who it was, and I rewatched 101 Dalmatians. Hugh Laurie was one of the bad guys, one of the dog nappers, and then, oh, what the hell was that show? Stephen Fry, Blackadder, right? Third season of Blackadder. Rowan Atkinson, like he is. So it's funny, right? Because all of the British American accents that I've ever heard are just like the West Coast kind of stereotypical California loser accent. I don't know how you describe it. It's like, hey, dude, like it's so totally amazing, man. You know, and they're just, you can still hear it in the R's, right? There's something about the way Brits and Aussies say R's that is distinct. So doing an American accent, you still hear that. Someone that did a fairly good one for the time, and you could definitely hear it was Eric Idle, right? Monty Python's Eric Idle. So there was a couple of skits where he did an American accent. I think he was a director, but you could still hear like the R's. Like he was talking to I think it was Michael Palin. They were doing, it's a big movie, a big production, baby, yeah. And he was kind of doing the Hollywood thing, and holy crap, it's way far away. And every time he said something with an R in it, you could still hear that British undertone. But Hugh Laurie like blows my mind, boggles me on how good his American accent is. I was genuinely convinced that he was American in House. But then yeah, you get people trying to do British accents, and they either try to go with full on Cockney, which if you're gonna go British, don't go Cockney, like eh. Or they try to do I don't know, well, I guess live stream. See, I don't even know what that is. Or they try to do the old aristocracy accent. That old we've got to get some grey poop home. That whole, the Wellington accent or whatever the hell you're gonna call it. Yeah, no, can't do that. Definitely can't do that. I mean, I've heard some Americans can do some pretty convincing uh, Scots and Irishmen, but nothing I'd call convincing British. Oh, I passed it. Wow. Yeah, you get very large distances between dialectual independencies, I guess. Whereas in the UK, Great Britain most especially, you get like 15 kilometers down the road and it's just a completely different accent. And you're just like, what? How does that even make any sense? Oh, right there. Right, because you guys have to listen to, you guys get all of it from all sides all the time. So you know what they all sound like right off top of your heads. Guten Tag, Yolo. How's it going? Lurkies, thank you. Yeah, I finally remembered to put the command list in the frickin' description. It's still not on the laptop. But tomorrow I might be doing another cooking stream, which means, would you stop, Kitsune, please? Because I made the hot sauce, right? And I fucked it up. fucked it up. I said it. I made a boo-boo. I forgot some ingredients, which means I have to remake it in both mild and spicy, and take it up to Idaho with me Thursday? Also, yes, Yellow, I love this game. It's freaking amazing. Mostly because it tells you nothing. You have to figure it out on your own, like life. Yeah, and I'm a real big fan of languages and accents and trying to figure out where people are from based on their accents. And the UK is so hard for me because I'll listen to someone talk and I'm like, okay, let me guess. Don't tell me. South. And they're like, nope, west. Fuck. Like I can't keep them all straight. Like I can sometimes pick out Welsh, but we're talking like Cardiff Welsh, not the deep Welsh. And then like I don't know, Cockney's usually something you can pick out. I can't do it with my face hole, but it's one of those things. If I hear it, I'm like, oh yeah, that's what that is. Yeah, and Manchester's like comparatively tiny. What's interesting to me with Welsh, right? So not Welsh. What's ancient Welsh? Gaelic, right? Because you have Gaelic Welsh and Gaelic. No, what's eh? Yeah, what's ancient Welsh? Like the actual language, not oh yeah, that thing I can't say because most of Welsh is consonants that act like vowels depending on the case. But the way that they use English is so different from just Great Britain. Well, I guess London and North. Standard English? I don't know what you call it. But yeah, they use it in a kind of a really different way. So it's like figuring out the structure is really your key there. But my reference for Welsh, funnily enough, is the f is her name? I always forget. Eve Miles. Torchwood. There's certain words that the way she pronounces them, um, you're like, yeah, that's the way the Welsh say that. Damn coal miners. So I want to go in. You know, I keep meaning to. I've seen like 10 or 15 minutes of one episode, and it's like, if it's the one that's in my head, which I love British programming a lot, so like, I think I'm thinking of the right show, is just hysterical. But like, I make Doctor Who jokes all the time. I make Monty Python jokes all the time. Nobody here gets them. It is the rare occurrence when I get, especially when I start talking about like the original Doctor Who, which I guess nobody has ever seen except for like the 3 people on the planet that have. Because like I'll talk to people that love Doctor Who in the U.S., right? And they're like they're like, yeah, and then this and this and this. If you want to do this, telling people, most especially in conversations where people that like Doctor Who are trying to convince people that have never watched it that they need to go fucking watch it, where to start, because it's kind of a daunting task, right? Because you have the originals, and that was like what, 15 seasons or 20 seasons? And then you have the new ones, the today ones, which started with Christopher Eccleston, and what are we on now? 12 seasons? Or 13? But Jodie Whittaker suffers from the same problem that Sylvester McCoy suffered from, the most horrible writers on the planet. Which the writers for Jodie Whittaker killed the series, plain and simple. Like they killed it. And it was because of the same thing that Sylvester McCoy had to put up with, hyper PC culture. I have friends. I should go say hi to the friends. What's interesting is I'm not getting these lasers. These should be lasers. Lasers? Yeah, there's no lasers. Interesting. Is that still a thing? The class division with various accents? I know historically it has been, most especially with the aristocracy and their own, patented brand of English, right? So it's still a thing. I have a sneaking suspicion the French still subscribe to a system like that too, where your accent can define kind of your class or your role in society. And that's where I don't know, so is it a slur, the word chav? Or is it more of a mildly uh mildly offensive descriptive term? Come on, guy. Come down in here. Oh, quit that. He's trying to microwave me, by the way. Okay. Yeah, I wasn't sure. The way I always tend to hear it, don't smash into the thing. Thank you. Uh, the way I always tend to hear it seems to be people using it as a slur, but I don't know. Don't smash into the thing. Quit it. This physics engine is infuriating sometimes. Come on. Stop. 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 It's because he's here. Right. He's trying to microwave me through the rock. I don't think I have maintenance drones on this ship. Jesus. Zoom! Hello? Buttons. Do the thing, but not sending me flying. Yes. Exactly. Yep, yep. Uh-huh. Uh-huh. Yep, yep. Uh-huh. Sure. Uh-huh. Yep. Stop it. Okay, so here's what we're going to do. We're going to turn you off because that saves some frames. For whatever reason, the computer takes up a lot of frames, or the HUD does. And we're going to go out this way because there's two exits. Because those guys are trying to kill me. And without the computer, I have no way of stabilizing myself. Come on. This might be an Alt F4 scenario. Ow. It goes so deep as to insert itself into football culture, even. Did not know that. That is interesting. Physics, would you quit? Wait. Football fandom is tied to religion? That's kind of weird and cool at the same time, I guess. Interesting, I guess, is the word. Could you stop that, please? Okay. Two NPCs plus me inside a moonlet, 1 frame a second is just more than mildly infuriating. So we're going to take a break from that. And it's the game engine on my CPU, because the physics engine is single-threaded, so it suffers on my older CPU. Let me... Where the heck did I put that? Boom. I don't know if... I guess we can... Okay, so I'll hop in y'all's Discord in the general VC. We might have to do some finagling because I don't know what the volume's going to be like. You might be blasting yourself out of my speakers into the microphone.
Yourself out of... Hey.
Oh!
Right?
That was loud.
Yeah, I heard the echo. I also moved you over to our streaming channel.
I see that.
I don't know. Yeah, so, where's volume go?
You're probably going to hear yourself. So, my mic sits right in front of the center speaker of my surround sound.
Oh yeah, mine's the same. I have to move mine whenever I join a call.
So, like... Hold on. Let me see if I can, like... Loud noises. I broke the mount on my little stand thing, so now I just kind of have to set the mic down somewhere.
Oh yeah.
That's a little bit better. I wonder if I can put something in front of the speaker. Or, hold on. Oh, let me try to face the speaker down towards the table. Maybe that'll muffle it enough that it won't pick it up. I mean, the speakers behind me will probably still get to the mic, though. So, let's try that. No, I can't hear you at all. Oh, okay. Yeah, I think we're just gonna the stream. Apologies for anybody else watching. Is gonna have to suffer with the listening to Discord through the microphone for right now, because I'm not actually set up for Discord calls in stream at all.
I can show you how if you want.
No, I can. I deleted all the scenes.
Ah, right.
I did a big like reconfigure. I don't know, 2 months ago, and since then I've had no cause to put Discord back into the audio setup. So like, it's just not even in there.
Fair enough. Yeah. So yeah. football and religion are very deeply tied together, as well as like your classified, especially with the origins of football clubs. So with my team, is Manchester City FC. They weren't always called Man City. They were originally formed as Saint it was St Mark's West Gorton. West Gorton being this very small region of Manchester they're from. And they were at church, and it was the people who went to this church from this very lower working class of Manchester that played for them when it first founded. So because of that, Manchester City to this day is still a very working class club. And even though we've gone through brand changes over the years up to 1894 when we became City, like it's still a massive part of it. Whereas Man United, our rival team, are a lot more. They're not upper class, but they're more towards the middle, being from the Trafford region, which is actually where I live. But that's the point. But so have you ever heard of the Old Firm Derby?
Yes.
Rangers and Celtic.
I
Probably one of the most notorious derbies in football.
don't know anything about it, but I've heard the words.
Yeah, it's one where, like, even I, growing up with football, I will not touch either of those two teams because their fans are insane. It's Glasgow Celtic and Glasgow Rangers. You'll never hear them described as Glasgow. They're always Rangers or Celtic because of their deep religious and background, like, fan base.
Mm-hmm.
So Celtic, who, as you'd guess by the name, are very Celtic-based, they absolutely despise the English. Like,
right.
They don't have English fans, full stop. Most of their fans, despite being a team from Glasgow in Scotland, the majority of their fans are Irish, and they're very deep-rooted Catholic religion.
Right.
Whereas their rivals, Rangers, are very loyal to the British. Most of them Scottish, a few English. Almost all of them Protestant, Christian. And yet are very loyal to the monarchy. Whereas Celtic fans, if they had their way, would have Scottish independence, reunited Ireland, fuck the monarchy.
Right.
And there were clips of when the Queen died, was a massive one of Celtic fans actively booing and setting off green flares during the minutes of silence for her. Whereas Rangers fans, despite being Scottish, sang the English anthem and not "Oh Flower" and raised the Union Jack. But when those two play each other, it's absolute fucking war on the street. Like, the police have to close off separate streets of, right, you fans get this side of the city to go through pretty much, and have to fully line the streets around the stadium.
God damn,
Just because one of them is Catholic and one is Protestant, and that's all it took.
I thought American football fandom was nutty.
Oh no, these are insane. They will kick off each other before the game's even started. And pyros are a massive thing with those two as well. It's impressive to see, but being English myself, I don't want to ever be anywhere near it. Which is when I was on holiday in Scotland, Celtic playing away in Edinburgh. And I was very careful. Like, even though the chances of them having to go just because I'm English is low, it's always there. Like, I was careful around Celtic fans.
Right.
Not be overly English with it. But they're like the most known example. It is like deep-rooted all the way to the non-professional side of this thing. As well as, say, Liverpool are very known for it. Actually getting involved on both ends of the Rangers derby, because despite being an English team, if you ask Scouts where they're from, they will say Scouts, not English. They despise the English. They despise the Tory party, especially, and the upper class English. Like, if they had their way, they'd probably be Irish if they could. They also have quite a large Irish fandom. And they absolutely despise Manchester. Even if you're not a Liverpool Manx State Scouts has always been like that, to be honest. But like because of that, Rangers were Scottish and are loyal to the king, or well, was the queen, but now the king, will have massive rivalry with Liverpool because right, despite Liverpool being the English side, they hate the English monarchy, which is a weird one, but it's interesting.
Yeah, I knew there was rivalries and the like. I didn't realize they went, quite that deep.
Oh yeah, but one for more. Because most football teams form from churches or like groups that are already together when football first started to take popularity. So you know what? Let's have a game. Like I said, Manchester City came from St. Mark's Church in West Boston, which is unfortunately not there, although we still play very close to the area.
Mm-hmm.
We never really left it. The Man United I've actually forgotten the name of it, but they weren't originally a church team, which is why they're a bit more middle class. City are very lower. But we're one of the relative same derbies. I mean, you could see West Brom versus Villa, or one of the stories ones actually West Ham and Millwall absolutely hate each other. Like it's fucking riots in the streets when those two play. It's actually an interesting one because Millwall make it through to the next round in the cup. There's a strong chance they play West Ham. That'll be a fun one to watch. I mean, you get like I said with the Glasgow derby, it's called the Old Firm derby because they have some of the oldest firms, and firms in English football are like the most extreme circumstance. So they are literally a group of fans made to fight other groups of fans, which is why the Old Firm derby gets the name. But Millwall and West Ham have some of the most notorious firms. But every team will have one to a certain extent. Football and religion are on par with each other in most parts of England. And it ties in so much with like politics and you're classified, it's weird. Like if someone with a Mancunian accent says they support Liverpool, like they're gonna get judged from both ends of that. Like things like that is back to my original point earlier, like with Americans struggling with the accent, because there's so many little things that make a massive amount of difference that it's very easy to make a mistake.
Oh yeah, like I used to think I had a few of them picked up and like, oh yeah, that's from here and that's from here, and then like the more I talk to actual real Brits, it's like, no, no, I wasn't even close.
So I mean, most people listen to it. I'm not the strongest Mancunian accent, but I do have a bit of a Manc accent. When you ever listen to Oasis, for instance, they're probably the most famous example of the Mancunian accent. Like, I don't sound like Liam or Noel Gallagher.
Like,
they are some of the strongest Mancunian.
Yes, but never enough to pick up on accent.
Yeah. But because I was based in the Trafford area, Manchester, as opposed to being on like Central or Eastern, like they were my side. I have a very southern Saturn accent just for what I was on. Even though it's I could literally walk 5 minutes that way, I'm in my side. Like it's the tiniest amount of space makes a massive difference in England's accent. It's such a weird one. So when you learn to pick up on them, it's really interesting.
Yeah, I've got to head back home because I'm gonna die out here. As in total hours?
I was thinking how long about it, but yeah.
I think 250 hours. So like the first week I put in 100 hours, I think,
Okay.
or something like that. But like I don't know, 2 months, 3 months maybe.
It was real good. Someone's getting it.
Jesus. All because the physics engine is meh. Oh, I need to replace him. What? You're supposed to be going. Oh no, this is a sale. Never mind. Never mind. Never mind. Ignore my incredulity. Did I do all the stuff on this I was supposed to do? Yeah.
I've always found that weird though for you guys. Like, I do follow a bit of American sports. I do work at hockey, and the two like your sports team and like where you're commenting don't tie in anywhere near as much as it does in England, does it?
I mean, I don't even follow any kind of a sport, so I honestly couldn't tell you.
So I know it's like fairly regular thing for a team to switch cities in America, isn't it? I mean, it was
I mean,
the Raiders.
I know Las Vegas recently purchased the what the hell is that team? Not the Patriots. Raiders from LA and built a whole giant stadium in the stupidest part of town where there's literally zero parking because it's industrial and it's all trucks and iron yards. And it's just like the people that plan this stuff out are completely, absurdly, hopelessly stupid.
Like that would have caused quite if something like that happened in England. In fact, it actually did. There's a team known as MK Dons, who the Dons nickname came from the original club Wimbledon. They were the Wimbledon Dons in their region, and they got bought out by a foreign owner who changed club's colour, moved them to Milton Keynes, and renamed them to the MK Dons. And the former supporters of Wimbledon refused to go with, founded their own team, the new Wimbledon AFC, who have now actually overtaken Milton Keynes in the league. So they refuse to go with, and when the two play each other, it's another one, right? One of those massive derbies between those who are loyal to the actual team and those who went with the sellout to MK.
Yeah, I mean, in the U.S., it's all just money.
Yeah, you guys really have the franchise sport there, right?
Oh, yeah. And I mean, U.S. fans for U.S. sports are just, I'd call them less fanatics and more just, I know I'm going to alienate anybody that might pop in that is a sports fan, but idiots. Because,
Oh, no, yeah, that's
I mean, fanaticism for any cause is the hallmark of low IQ typically. Like if you are so dumb you are willing to fight somebody because they said your team sucked? Come on. Even if they said your city sucked. Guy, I know my city sucks. I live here. Like don't talk to me about stuff sucking. I live in it every day. It's just I don't know. I don't understand fanaticism, period.
that one's worth it because American sports is not obviously it's still tied in obviously culture, but it's teams from top cities. Over here, like I said, it's Celtic, like Celtic and Rangers have to fight all the time. Millwall, West Ham do. Even like the more tame derbies fights will break out just because of how ingrained it is for like your Castlevine and your city's history and your family's history. I mean, everyone. If your dad supports a team, you support that team, right?
Yeah, and there's a lot of that too. It's more the historical side of it than it is, the team thing. It's more where you came from and your family history, all that. Which the U.S. we don't really have that because we're 220 years old, whereas Great Britain is how old is the British Empire? 2,000 years almost.
The British Empire was Elizabeth, so it would have been 1600. So Britain itself.
Yeah, see, I genuinely don't pay enough attention to history in general.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, I guess the British,
Scotland, first England.
yeah, the British Empire itself, as the British Empire isn't that old. But I was thinking of the fall of the Roman Empire when the regions, what is today Europe, started taking autonomy back for themselves because the British Empire or the Roman Empire was failing.
That would have been 927 AD.
How do you know that off the top of your freaking head?
I mean, it was what? William 1066 is the first English king, right? So about 1066. So coming up to 1,000 years now.
Yeah, about 1,000 years. How do you know that off the top of your head? That's what I want to know.
Everyone knows 1066. That's one of the dates that's ingrained into you.
Okay.
William the Conqueror, the first king of England.
Yeah, I guess. I mean, the American equivalent would be 1776, July 4th, 1776, Declaration of American Independence by the shipping of the Declaration of Independence to, I don't even remember, King George. Yeah, the third. I think it was the third. I can't.
Actually, no.
Was it?
Yeah. I think it's the.
Yeah, I don't remember. One of the kings, and then like this whole thing. Okay. This whole thing with like we declare, so we being this disparate group of farmers in what eventually became 13 individual states, which you could say are counties or provinces in any other terms in the world. We call them states because that we didn't like the word province, I guess. I don't know. But like, so we sent this letter and we said no more taxing our tea. God damn it. So we threw a bunch of tea into some harbor and wrote a nasty letter, as we do, because that's what we do. We are the most litigious society on the planet. Since our creation, we have done nothing but sue the crap out of people for whatever reason. And then then this whole thing with, so honestly, the only reason we quote unquote won, okay, the only reason we are not under British rule today is because Napoleon was kicking ass, trying to take over, well, the world. He fancied himself another Alexander the Great, and he was trying to take over the world. Spread himself, like, he was doing a pretty good job of it, but he did the same thing Hitler did, and the same thing Alexander the Great did, and the same thing all visionary world taker-overs tend to do. They spread themselves too thin, right? Because like the only reason Europe isn't speaking German right now is because they went into Russia. And they could not sustain both fronts. I mean, oh well, yeah, it's the British were doing a damn good job holding their own before we stepped in at all.
The second Alan Turing invented the computer here in Manchester, it was rats regardless. But yeah, it's definitely false.
Yeah, because he was fighting Stalin.
Yeah.
And They had a thing too. Like, I don't know why. I don't know who. It couldn't have been Hitler. Like, I swear Hitler was smarter than that. But
No,
in his in his later years, he was going full on into the occult thing, and like he was going kind of nuts.
he, after France, he got a bit too self-confident, started making stupid mistakes.
Yeah, so it's like it was dumb because I swear if he had focused all of his efforts on moving west, there's a very high likelihood that I don't know that necessarily he would have won, but he'd have put up a heck of a lot harder fight for.
I feel like if he went for England sooner than he did, it would have been a problem because it took fucking throwing in his team fucking ages to get that computer invented, working especially.
Right.
Because I mean, he had the machine, but they needed. Have you ever watched like I mean, it's not French time, but the Imitation Game?
No.
So mate, I'd punch that. I'd watch it down. But the problem with the computer that he made is it needed something to work off of to start with, and the Germans changed their code at midnight every night, right?
Right.
They couldn't go through the old letters. Basically, whenever they finally cracked it, the Germans would change the code again, so it didn't matter.
Right.
And in the end, they realised that the only thing that was the same to every letter is it was signed Heil Hitler. So they taught the machine how to learn that, and it could decrypt the code entirely just off of those letters, knowing that the final two words was always Heil Hitler.
I never knew that. That is, I mean, it makes total sense, but like that's hysterical.
So like, it took them fucking so long to get a computer to recognise that.
Right.
Realistically, if they made a move a bit sooner, we wouldn't have got. But
Yeah. And it's always funny and extremely controversial opinion. I am an extremely controversial kind of person, so it fits. But it's always really funny because so in the U.S., right, the U.S. Constitution, the First Amendment is directly related to the Protestants and the Lutherans and the Methodists as they were coming over from England. They got tired of the church telling them what to do, how to do it, and taking their stuff whenever the church felt like it. Like the church was doing some shady shit back in the day, and they got tired of it, and they wanted to do their own thing. So okay, cool. They come over here. I always tell people it's funny. I'm like, yeah, the only reason America exists is because a group of prudes got tired of the rampant sex in Europe.
I mean,
like, it's not that far off.
Really not.
But like, so they come over here, and the First Amendment is a direct result of all of that stuff that was going on. So freedom of speech, freedom of press, and freedom of expression. The Second Amendment is a direct result of what happened because of those events. And all of these things were written in order of how they appeared in people's heads at the time of like transgressions that they believed were committed, right? So King George sent troops over here to try to enforce taxes and what have you, and we kept dragging them off into back alleys in the middle of the night and making sure they weren't a problem anymore. So the Second Amendment is the right to bear arms, and so it's the reality is the right to defense of self and of property. That's what it boils down to. But you have all these lawyers that are constantly like, well, it says bear arms, so everyone has a right to, have a set of bear arms in their den, or some stupid crap, which it's a meme, but the sentiment is there, where anything that can be used to stop somebody from hurting you is an arm. If I take my belt off and strangle you with it, that's an arm. I have armed myself. And the reason that is a key part, we are one of 3 nations on the planet that have that as a key part of our founding documents. I don't remember what the other 2 are, but they're not nearly as large and boisterous as us Americans tend to be about it. But people in the U.S. are fighting against that, trying to repeal that. They don't understand why it exists in the first place, because humans want power over others, and you need to be able to stop them taking power over you. And that's what it is. And you've probably seen the meme. just because the internet is what it is. But like every time someone's like, "Oh yeah, why does the U.S. need so many guns?" Back-to-back World War champs. What? And it's like every time people who have disarmed their populace have somebody coming in and saying, "Hey, we're taking you over now, and there's nothing you can do about it because there's nothing the people can do about it." Who do they call? They call us. End of the day. I mean, first they call you guys because you guys were at one point the most absolutely frightening military force on the planet, and then
At one point.
yeah, and then we stole a bunch of German scientists after World War II. We sniped them out from under Britain and didn't really tell nobody. So then we became the most frightening military force on the planet. And it's funny because like NASA, right? So all this stuff with like SpaceX, everybody's like, "Oh, SpaceX is so great because they did this and they did that." Do you know why SpaceX is what it is?
It is German science.
So NASA got us to the moon on German science, right? The V1, the V1 and the Saturn V's and all that. So the Germans got us there. They all died. And nobody from the American side, none of the American scientists at NASA could figure out what the heck any of this stuff was. So we floundered. Our space program, they were defunding it because we weren't getting anywhere. And yeah, we sent like a rover to Mars and we put something on the moon, but like it wasn't really cool until Elon Musk comes out and he grabs a few smart people from around the world, not just the US, and he's like, "Hey, how can we do this? Oh yeah, instead of one giant engine that we're only using 12% of its surface area for thrust, why don't we put 20 smaller engines that use 30% of their surface area for thrust?" And it's like, how come nobody ever thought of that before? Duh.
Yeah. But even in space, you guys, obviously, like, you're known as the winners to reach the moon first and put a man on it, but you got your ass fucking kicked by the Russians.
Oh yeah. For how many?
Like,
15, 20 years, we've been using Soyuz capsules to get us to the space station because we couldn't afford to fund our own.
Yeah.
And everyone's like, "Oh yeah, well we're sending people up in these scary Russian things. They were built in the 70s and they still work. Tell me how scary they are."
Yeah. That's the only thing the Russians did in the 70s that actually fucking worked.
I mean, it's like the AK, right? It's one of the most sloppiest, loosiest, goosiest pieces of firearm paraphernalia that you'll ever find. What is the most reliable firearm on the planet?
Yeah.
Freaking AK-47. You can bury it in mud for 6 months, come back, kind of wipe it off with a rag a little bit, and bam, there you go. It's fine.
Yeah.
No other machine can do that. But what do I know?
But I mean, like, going back to what you said, like, what's knowing the dates of us, like, our history's so, like, ingrained into us in school, even if you don't take history. Like, you know the show Horrible Histories, right?
What's that?
Sure you do. But, do you know the show Horrible Histories and the book series that came up with it?
I don't think so.
Like, every British kid grew up with horrible histories, and it literally, all the concept was codifying British history, but actually showing the things that they won't teach you in school.
Hmm.
And it's like the amount of songs, things that in the live action shows that they made alongside Jesus Christ. Like every British kid knows it in their head. Like the Monarch song, most British kids could tell you every single one of our monarchs in order, but only and only if they sing that song. There's William, Henry, Stephen, Henry, Richard, John, Floyd, William. But I always get the second one. But it's like that first bit: William, Henry, Stephen, Henry, Richard, John, Floyd. Every Brit will know at the very least.
You want to know how many Americans know the order of U.S. presidents?
How many?
probably 3.
Yeah, to be fair.
Like,
I mean,
it's...
if the other song is catchy as we did, it'll be incredible. Hang on, let me find the second verse. I know all of them, and the second one always gets me off when you go through the full order of it.
I mean, we have the alphabet song that people still screw up. If that tells you anything about American education.
Yeah, it's the Edward bit always. It's William, Henry, Stephen, Henry, Richard, John, Oi, Henry, Ed, Rich, there's 3 more Henrys during that song. Edward, Rich the third, Henry, Ed again, Mary 1, God bless, Jimmy, Charles, and Charles again, Jim, Will, Mary, Anna, Gloria, George, Will, Victoria, George, Edward, George 6, and Queen is 2 complete Smith. Obviously, you know, Charles coming to that song, but and Mary was never actually officially reckoned in that book. Not Bloody Mary though, before that.
Yeah, I can honestly say I know maybe 7 U.S. presidents, and I don't even really remember the order.
Yeah. But it's like, the War of Independence, I don't actually know how much, how teach it. Do you, like, know any of the battles? And, like, what's the place? I know you'll know the name of some of the major ones at least, but do they actually teach you in detail what happened?
In high school, generally, yes. I was never a fan of American history simply because most of American history and American history books is on Tuesday, April 14th, Abraham Lincoln scratched his butt for the 3rd time. It's just like, nobody cares. Really, absolutely nobody cares about what day John Henry hopped on his horse and broke his tailbone. Like, that's the kind of stuff they teach for American history, the useless bits. And they just skim right over all of the bits that you actually genuinely need to know. Like, why the Second Amendment exists in the first place. Like, they don't teach that stuff in schools. And it's terrifying on it. Well, it's because schools are state funded, and as a Brit, I'm sure you know full well how well state funding goes for, education and such.
Right, right.
Because you have to teach the worker bees how to be worker bees and nothing else. I actually had a teacher say that once. She's like, "I'm not here to actually teach you things. I'm here to teach you how to operate in our society." Like, at least you're honest about it.
But that's one every British kid, even, I mean, the ones that never paid attention in school probably won't remember, but any of the ones that even paid the slightest bit of attention, even if you didn't take history, will know 1066 is William the Conqueror, Howard Hazard as the Viking, Howard Godwinson, and they all have beef because of one woman that married the king of the Vikings and then remarried the king of the Anglos. And 3 generations later, it all kicked off because there wasn't an heir, and now there's 3 fucking different families, all with equal claims to throne. But like, it's one of those you remember from history. William the Conqueror's Greek, Hastings first. So because of the battlefield is on a slope, right?
Mm-hmm.
And because the Conqueror reached it first, he basically parked his army in a big line on the top of that hill. Harold parked his army in a big line on the top of this fucking hill. For William the Conqueror, a massive disadvantage, sending troops up the hill that have been shelled to shit with arrows, right? So, they've got the logo.
Yep.
So he made the decision to move his cavalry out to the very side of the army and start to retreat, so that when Harold Robinson's army got greedy and decided to chase them down and leave no survivors. And came down this hill. The cavalry only had to turn around, and all of a sudden they're encircled and they've got fucking nowhere to go anymore. And there's such the war tactics for that battle is so ingrained in Year 7 history.
Yeah, I don't think they teach. The only thing that I can remember from American history that was taught very well, like it's one of those things that you ingrain into the kids, is Custer's last stand, which Custer was wrong in the first place. He was out there, I don't know, murdering the indigenous peoples or something. I don't even remember. I'd have to look it up again to really remember, but it was, they teach it as a great hero was snuffed out. And as we know, when we become adults and we start researching things, that's never really the case, right? The stuff you're taught in school is almost universally taught from the wrong side. And it's because the victor always writes the history books. And in any confrontation, the victor is always the one who writes the history books.
Yeah.
So it's like, you learn all this stuff as a kid, and then you have to unlearn it as an adult, and and they teach 1776, and they teach some of the important dates around that. They teach about the Boston Tea Party, which is, when we were chucking a bunch of very highly taxed teas off of the shipping vessel into Boston Harbor. And they don't really teach you why all they really teach is the king wanted to tax us very heavily for these products, and we didn't like that, so we threw it into the harbor. Like, that's all they don't really give you kind of the background on. There was so much other stuff going on at the time, and this was like, right, and this was like against freaking Napoleon. And then Napoleon, part of the reason why Napoleon got half slaughtered is because he saw America as a new like a home front, not a home front, but a new place to stab at King George. And so he committed a bunch of resources to what eventually became Quebec and Ontario, so like the northern part of this continent, and started putting up forts and all this other stuff, I guess with the hopes of waiting until the Brits came over the pond to take their colonies back, because he saw that coming, and then he would like join up with us and surprise them, which he did. Some of that occurred, but I don't think it went as well as he wanted to. I think he dumped too many resources into the Americas and ended up screwing himself in Europe. But again,
the French massively aided you in your war of independence.
Oh yeah, there was a lot of French help. At least in the northern battles. I don't know about, because I don't remember if the British Empire sent troops down south of what is today South Carolina, which is like 40% from the southernmost U.S. border today, the end of Florida and the Keys. So there's quite a bit of land south of South Carolina, and I don't know that there was any need to send anything, because I think that was all French territory at the time.
Yeah.
And then, and of course, the only avenue that the British had to arrive here was to come from the sea. Granted, it's a large coastline. It's 4,000 miles of coastline. Yeah, but we had people watching out all across the coastlines. Like, you're not gonna not see the British Navy coming in. It doesn't even matter if it's the middle of the night. You're gonna see these giant ass ships coming in to harbor somewhere. Or even, didn't the British Navy do that thing with, I don't know if it was exclusively British or was it everybody at the time, but if you need to land somewhere where there's no harbor. Obviously, you need to get on dinghies or whatever and row your way to shore because the big boats are too heavy and too low. You'll never make it to shore. You'll just wreck your boat. So like obviously if we're watching the harbors, they can't come into the harbors. So that's the way they're going to have to send troops, which means now they're trying to launch an amphibious attack, which even today is a pain in the ass with our technology. Doing it on wooden ships with iron plating bolted to the side of it, like I can only imagine it was half impossible. Like it was the whole thing was already stacked totally against the Brits from the first, even just fighting farmers. We had the secured land. Like King George should have known that, but you know.
He did start to go a bit off his tits towards the end.
I think most, I'm not going to say, it's not dictators, it's most singular rulers, I guess.
I'd say monarch. Yeah.
Yeah, they tend to seem to do that. I don't know if it's the whole that old absolute power corrupts absolutely thing, or like if they.
Just the stress of it all, right?
Yeah, I genuinely don't know. It's like part of the reason why I'd never want to be a leader of any kind anywhere is because they all seem to tend to go completely nuts.
Yeah.
And I'm already nuts enough as it is. I don't need any more.
So it's like when you take history in the UK, I mean, honestly, the books are always been a bit biased in they cover up some of the worst things the Empire did. But the UK is quite good for showing it relatively balanced. Like it will, especially when they teach it in schools, they'll never go, this is what the Empire did. We gave them trains. Absolutely nothing else happened. Don't question it. we just gave them trains.
Right.
Don't worry about the rest. No, it was like, yeah, we fucked up a lot of shit in Africa. We'll be honest, Africa and you're not our proudest moment.
Right.
But it will, like, obviously it's not the worst of that, right? But the way they teach wars and wars, like they will teach you, especially the battles with, one of the modules they do is literally going through our monarchy and how the British people were shaped, basically, because Britain's one of the weirdest ones ever, where it's about 9 different nations all mixed together slowly over the years.
Right.
Well, they will start by teaching you from the Anglos, from the very moment actually, like, what would have become the Netherlands, people came over Doggerland, you used to be able to walk it at that time, into what's now England, set up some farms. And like it will show, they teach us a lot of it, and you tend to get, they'll gloss over big chunks, but the bits they go into, they will go into great detail. Like Agincourt's one of my favourite ones to learn about. As I'm about to send you on this book, I've actually got the sword of the Black Prince, Edward. He was actually Black Prince from that battle. I mean, that battle.
Like genuine?
No, right.
Oh, okay. I was like, holy crap.
I don't have that much money.
I was like,
and I fully intend to get gold on that. If I had the money, I'd have the full set of armor. Because I love learning about Agincourt. It was from the 100-Year War, right?
Yeah.
And basically what happened is the English in France, where we've had very strong, like, for the most part in the 100-Year War, we were genuinely in the right, where northern France, because of Eleanor of Aquitaine, was right for the English. I mean, Brittany was British, where again its name. And our first king was Norman, so we had quite strong claims to Normandy, like the ours.
Right.
That one was strongly contested by the French. And as you can tell by looking at the map, in the long run they eventually won, because a navy can't protect you when you don't have the channel in place. But when we were sending our army down there to, reclaim this northern bit, army he was with got cornered in a part of France, a bit north of Paris in Agincourt. Most of them caught disease in the bit where they couldn't go anywhere because they were encirculated by Paris and the French army. But the French weren't close enough to engage her, so they just had to sit and wait. And a lot of them died of disease, they ran out of resources, they were weak, by no means should have won. They were outnumbered, I think it was, I double check numbers, but it should have been about 5,000 to 13,000 French. And that being said, there's no documentation of the speech was ever made, other than the troops' words when they came back. But it's one of the most famous speeches of English history of "Make this England." He rallied the troops, stuck them in the mud, and just shot arrows at the fucking French and praised the fuck. And we somehow made it out with our fucking monarch unscathed. And, you know, despite being outnumbered 5 times and backed into a corner. Had absolute no right to have won that fight. But it was, we hated the French that much that it made us. Your fight pretty much carried them through that.
Yeah, we got some of those.
The exact numbers and like the exact, these are the tactics that we know of. This is exactly how the British army lined up. This is how the French army lined up and how they approached it. Which is how I was actually, but from what I've seen for Americans, they don't go that deep into it. It's more independent, like this is where the lines were, this, you know, how many troops on each side. Kind of thing.
Yeah, I think we're still kind of fuzzy on that even today.
Yeah. Oh yeah, a lot of it is like numbers, right?
Right.
Like the if you search the Agincourt French army, they teach it as I think 14,000, but it was like it could have been between 10,000 men at arms, 5,000 miscellaneous footmen, and 15,000 field bearers. Yeah, like it could have been anywhere between 10 to 21,000 French and 3 to 5,000 Englishmen that somehow absolutely bodied them.
It's about the same story for us in somewhere that, again, controversial, we shouldn't have been in the first place, Vietnam. The story is that we were outnumbered 1 to 48. Like some stupid, ridiculous number. Like you're like, what? But the only thing that we had was our technology and our tactics. But like the Viet Cong were doing a very, very good job.
The English at Agincourt, all they had was the English longbow, which was still very new. And it's the reason we have guns today purely comes from the English invented the longbow, and it became so overpowered that people's armies basically kept investing in getting better and better long range.
Yeah, how do we fix this problem?
The Empire stumbled across China and this beautiful thing called gunpowder.
Yeah.
Shit hit the fan pretty fucking quick.
Oh yeah. Where the Chinese were just like, we're celebrating, and everybody in Europe was like, no, we can use this to murder folk.
Yeah. I mean, like the one with Agincourt, not just because of the impressive numbers, that the way they managed to win that fight, is they show that this is the last traditional, you know, sword battle the English were ever in with significant numbers. Because it didn't take long after that for us to invent catapult, the cannon, and then the gun. Like, things escalated incredibly quickly from that point to having the redcoats and their muskets. From some guys dressed head to toe in steel with bows and arrows.
Right.
In a military part of France.
And come to find out, steel doesn't do all that great against flying lead.
Yeah, it really doesn't. And it doesn't help if your army is dressed in bright red, because that's steel, the colour of the steel on
there's I don't know if it's true or if it's one of those, you know, meme facts about the reason the British, I guess Navy at the time, dressed in the bright red coats was so that when they got shot or stabbed, you couldn't tell.
Yeah, that's always one of the. I mean, if you look at like the English, most of them wore red because it was the crest of the king. But it is weird, especially when they're teaching that one specific module, like I said, but they will go straight from the Anglos through the Romans and the Vikings all the way up to World War II in the Empire. Like, there was just the tiniest things that you notice that are still so weirdly relevant in like the traditional, I'm going to say, English culture, like the roses from the Rose War. I mean, like I said with football earlier being so ingrained into your culture, most football badges will have the red rose of Lancashire on them if they're from, the northern end, which comes all the way from the War of the Roses, hundreds and hundreds of years before that city have actually have the red rose dead centre. Because it's the badge represented the culture of the area, right? So city being in the Lancashire area, and on the winning side of the War of the Rose, put the red on it. But if you look, I think Huddersfield has the white rose on their logo. I think there's going to be a few others that I can't think of at the moment. By the way, the three lions slowly snuck into the English flag over the years from just the original crest of some guy who had the surname Lionheart. That's where it started from. That's what it took. He put the lion on the crest because he was Richard Lionheart. And over the years, because the families and having more crest, the lions duplicated.
That's funny. Yeah, I don't know of anything that's distinctly American culture that is stuff that like people take for granted that is deeply ingrained in the history of us, other than like the standard stuff, the Constitution or whatever.
The gold eagle is one that has always been there, even before the Europeans went and fucked it up a bit in America and put the empires there. The fucking gold eagle was on Incan crests and native crests.
Right. It's not everything that we have as a culture has been appropriated from somewhere else. Like there's not American culture doesn't have much that it created on its own.
The thing is, that's how England started. Like you look at England, it was the Romans. Well, it was Celts who nearly got conquered by the Romans, and Boudicca sent them back to go Boudicca. And then the Anglos, and then the Vikings came in, and then the Normans, and then we were at war with the French for 100 years because one woman remarried a Viking. 200 years, but literally all of the wars between England and France, and pretty much everything in the World War II, one marriage caused it, and it was just one big domino effect from fucking Eleanor of Aquitaine. Eleanor? No, who was it? It was hang on. Oh. Emma of Normandy, sorry. Who was, King Knut of Denmark, when he came into England and took over, he married the former English queen who had been married to the king that he took over from, just to fully establish his hold on the throne. And all it took was those two half brothers, one Viking, one Anglo. When you follow the family tree down, as well as Emma of Normandy's brother, you get William the Conqueror, Harold Godwinson, and Harold Hardrada, who happens to be the three that fought at 1066 to become English, right?
So what you're saying?
That's all it took. Was that one marriage between those two?
So what you're saying is Cain and Abel all over again.
Pretty much, yeah. That's all it was.
Some brothers had some arguments over their ancestors' property, and it turned into a full-fledged war that they made a bunch of people who had nothing to do with the thing fight and die for their cause.
Oh no, they were all there. They all fought. The issue was one of them was French. He happened to be the one that won, which meant all of a sudden some French kings who were distantly related to him had a claim on the English throne, and that's all it took to start it off. Because second, both England and France had a claim over Normandy, and later Brittany. Because of it, it all went to shit.
I guess that makes sense.
But like, you look back, if Emma of Normandy hadn't married Philip, or if William the Conqueror hadn't been the one to win, you wouldn't have England to begin with, but the amount of wars between England and France that wouldn't happen. And probably, honestly, on just pure domino effect, the existence of America, World War I, World War II, probably wouldn't happen either. Because the North Sea Empire would have never formed, and it was that one tiny action that set the entire thing off.
Man, history's a funny thing.
I do also appreciate that King Canute is in the way the Vikings, you know how fantasy dwarves were always son of summer. The Vikings were very much the same, and because Canute's son was only half of Canute, he was quite literally named half Canute. Because he was only 50% of that bloodline, and 50% Emma of Normandy. It's weird because even, I mean, the Romans were here, not the Romans, so the Vikings were here before, the birth of Christ, right? They've been here since long in the BCs, I don't know the date, and they were here all the way up to 1066 when William the Conqueror finally forced them out of England. But you can still see, like, where the Vikings were, even if you just look at the names of places on a map of England, you can still see the Danelaw and the way the cities are built between your Roman, Victorian cities and, well, castle cities of the west, including Manchester. Whereas when you look at York or Sheffield, which were Viking built originally, was the Roman.
Yeah, you can see some of that here in the U.S. too, because it's like the common phrasing for in the U.S. is melting pot, because people come here when they want a new start, when they're trying to get away from wars and strife and destitution and tyranny and what have you, right? So everybody comes to the U.S. because it's a fresh new land, right? So it's really funny because I've been all over this country. I've been to Canada a couple of times, not enough to really say much on the architecture or anything up there, but I've been all over the U.S. minus 4 of the continental states, which is Maine, no, 2 of the continental states. Maine and North Dakota I haven't been to, but North Dakota is 60 million cows and 4 humans, and Maine is maple leaves, vodka, and a lot of snow and lobster. So, not really missing that much. The people are nice enough, but it's like there's nothing really special that says, hey, let's go to North Dakota. It's North Dakota, like, oh, big whoop. Which is funny, because North Dakota is enormous. It's like a third of Texas, and Texas is freaking huge. But, like, you drive around here, and well, most people fly, whatever. You fly around here, and you go to different places, and you see the architectural remnants of people's ancestors. And
Yeah.
Michigan, you see a lot of alpine architecture. There's a lot of Scandinavian background. There's a lot of Dutch background, which I guess you could argue there's a lot of Scandinavian and Dutch background to begin with. But you see it in the architecture, you see it in kind of the way they use English today, is all of these like weird idiosyncrasies of this particular type of culture that started moving through some other region when it was still virgin and new and fresh, and you see how it assimilated the modern stuff into the old ways, and it's really interesting to me because like where I'm at right now, northern Utah and southern Idaho, you look around at the houses here, and these houses are what I would call personally tiny. They're itty bitty. I'm paying $1,700 US, which is like 2,100 pounds a month for. I think this place is a little over 1,100 square feet. There's a scaling thing for meters, so I don't even know. I don't have a converter handy, so I don't know what that would be. 450 square meters, maybe.
Right.
I don't know. And what they call a two-car garage, which I can fit one car and my tools in it, and the one car has to be small. So, like, it's not a two-car garage by any stretch of the imagination, unless you're climbing out of the windows of both of them once they're both inside. And that to me, for cost to size, is insane. But when I bring people from this region, Utah, Idaho, over, and they see the house, they're like, "Oh, this place is really nice. You know, you got a lot of room in here, and whoa, that's a pretty big garage." I'm like,
yeah.
Where I'm from, well, where I spent a brunt of my adult life thus far, which was southern Arizona, this garage is a one-car garage because they assume you have a car and tools. So a two-car garage is literally two of this, and the door. Here's a funny one for you. All the garages around here, don't ask me why. All of the garages around here cannot fit my roommate's truck. He has a pickup because he's American. Blah, blah. It's a sentimental object for him. It was his dad's truck, and it's just he likes the truck. It's cool to him. It's been lifted up a little bit, not crazy. You can still climb in and out of it without any trouble, but it's like, it's a little bit taller than stock, and it's got some exhaust that makes it a little bit louder and light modifications like bolt-on stuff. It with the tires pumped up fully, it cannot fit in the garage door. It's about 30 centimeters too tall. Like, how can you call this a garage even if you can't fit what is honestly a vehicle of maybe slightly more than average height in this country? There's a lot of trucks in this country. Like, people love their pickups in America, and they're giant SUVs. I don't know why.
That is one.
I think they're silly.
That's a very distinctly American culture.
It is very distinctly American. Like me, I drive a tiny little Honda Civic, and I have a 300cc motorcycle, and those are more than fast enough for anything that I need. I don't know.
I need to find the Reddit setup and pull up the actual thing. There's a Reddit post I remember seeing ages ago of everything in Europe, especially the areas colonized by the Romans and later the British, is fitted to the approximate width of a horse's ass, because that's what the Romans had to do to get their carriages to fit these things, and that's what the entirety of Europe is built on, and that's what the entirety of what Europe colonized is then later built on. And you guys ever had to why everything so larger than American trucks don't fit on most European roads. But our entire, transport network is built upon the width of the ass of a horse. Because that's what the Romans built it on.
Yeah, totally makes sense.
And we built over what they already had.
I mean, I can imagine, like, so the AMG, I don't know if it's the real name for it or not. Everybody that I know calls it the G-Wagon, the AMG 4x4 SUV thing.
Yeah.
So that I can imagine that in the UK especially, but in like Italy and the south of France and all of these places with old architecture, especially Roman old architecture, like that thing is enormous out there. And here it's like, oh, how cute, you bought a little German SUV thing. Because like the Suburban, the Chevy Suburban is like 21 feet long or 22 feet long, which is 7.5 meters. And there are some lanes in some cities in the US that the Suburban is too wide to fit in a single lane. It's like it's kind of a ridiculous vehicle, but there are so many of them here. They are so popular. And I don't get it myself. I've always been a fan of small stuff.
The US so the US standard railroad gauge is 4 feet 8.5 inches. And you notice that is an incredibly odd number, the 0.5 inches, right?
Yeah, I remember reading about that, where it came from. It's some derivative of the British rail system, and that we then modified for our own purposes.
But it was because it was smudged from the outside of the rails, and now about 2 inches, so it's actually 5 inches thin. But more importantly, that gauge is used because that's the way they built them in England, and English engineers built your first railroads.
Right.
So everything was built off of those. But why did the English build them like that? Because the first rail lines were built by the same people that built wagon tramways, and that's the gauge they used.
So they just used what they knew.
Early horse-drawn railways did not have a particularly thick gauge and used quite a wide variety of them. But horse-car trams were the first, were built after the beginning of steam railways, and the precedent was mining horse-drawn railways mostly. So, the wagons had an odd wheel spacing, because if they tried to use any other wheel spacing, the wagon wheels would break more often on some old roads. Actually, the long-distance roads in England, it would just completely break, because that's the space of the wheel, fucking hell, I'm stuttering, so. The spacing of the wheel ruts. And the reason of their issue is the Roman war chariots formed the initial ruts in the road, right, that wheels would slip into. And everyone had to match this width or run the risk of destroying the wheels of their wagons. And the Romans used that width just because that was the average width of the ass of a horse, which is what they put their chariots on. So it was just some guy in Rome that made it by purely eyeballing it in the width of a horse. That made the first roads, that made the first trams, that made the first trains. It's all built off of that.
So everything in 40% of this planet's societies is some guy that said, yeah, that horse is about this wide. All right, let's build everything like that.
Yeah.
And it was just that horse.
And the reason it's such a random number is because they've been using this width by purely eyeballing it before we had the imperial or metric system, and it was just purely eyeballed.
That's funny.
Yeah. But the thing I was going to say earlier is, if you look at the map of place names in England, especially in the north, you can see exactly where the line of where the Vikings were and what still has the original Roman names for places. Where if you look at Manchester, where I'm from, and Chester just down south of us, if you go over the other side of the Peak District mountain range, it's Doncaster and Leicester, spelled Cester. And these all come from the same word, but it's the French, the Roman, and the Viking pronunciations of said word. Oh, sorry, medieval English, not Roman, of the same Roman word, which is Sia, city. For Manchester especially, the Romans got to where Manchester is now built, and the small town that was there, and looked at the two hills and the way the River Irwell flowed between them and thought, that looks like a massive pair of tits. So they quite literally named it the City of Titties, and you could not make that up. Mamusia, which is what it was originally called, quite literally translates to breast city.
Yep.
And Mamusia became Manchester, became Manchester over many years.
It's where we get the word memories.
Yeah.
That is hysterical.
But that's all it took. So, you can literally go, probably, straight line is probably only about an hour between Manchester and Doncaster. Only there's mountains away, so it takes you a bit longer. But they came from the same original word as Sia for city. It's Doncaster and not Chester. And you can go down south of it, and Leicester's Cester, just as where the Viking influence was, and where in the south have stronger French influence later on in the future. There are lots of places that do that. And you can usually tell as well by the way cities are built. Like if you look at York, right, oh no, in the wall city York, right, you can see it even if you don't know where the wall is. You can look at a aerial map of York and you can see it so clearly because everything inside the wall is about 10 times more dense and compact and high rise than everything outside of it. Because that's how the the Vikings built Jorvik. And that's why everything after that was built on top of. Whereas when you look at places over to the west that are more untouched from when the Romans came, Manchester especially, it's all wheel and spoke around the centre. Because that's how the Romans built their forts. As well as all roads lead to Rome, right? There are Roman roads that will take you straight from Manchester to Chester down through the south of London in as straight a line as you can have with the forest and mountains in the way.
Totally makes sense. I know RCE would argue with me about this, but I'm a big fan of grid cities.
I despise grid cities. I just love the way English cities are done.
So I have a problem with, because roads wear, vehicles are heavy, and stuff gets old, roads wear, right? So my issue with the way the Brits handle mostly neighborhoods, where everything is squigglies and cul-de-sacs and dead ends and what have you, is when you're doing construction on an arterial road, which is 2 lanes each way, generally in a city, you have no alternative because all of the neighborhoods are dead ends. You can't go around that. To do that, you have to go around the town. But if you need to be on that road to get to something that's on that road, you literally have no alternative but to sit in that construction, or behind that wreck, or behind that broken water main, which I guess is construction at the end of the day. But, infrastructure repairs, such like that. With a grid city, it's like, oh, there's construction on this road. Let me go down 2 blocks and come back up from the other side, and I just save myself an hour of sitting in traffic.
Yeah.
Why does so the monitor that this is on is let me pull it over here real quick. Yeah, so why is the shape of those A-roads similar to a single cellular organism that creates human beings?
That is a weird way of putting it. But yeah, that's how ring roads are. They just kind of have to weave in between what was there. But I mean, Manchester, ignoring where you can see everything being built over the river, whereas you can see the exact point where the river becomes a canal. Like, from an area point, even where you don't know where the wall is in York, you can see it by how things get suddenly so dense. Whereas Manchester has its outer rings, because that's the way the Romans did it.
Oh yeah.
Especially if you zoom in a bit more, but
I
it's kind of.
it
I mean, Manchester
does not do that.
is still very compact.
Yeah, for whatever reason, Discord, that's all I get. That's it. I can go look it up later if I remember and I'm interested,
Yeah.
which chances of that are fairly
I
slim.
have to be careful with that, because if I zoomed in a bit closer or a bit further out in the Manchester one, I'd end up up to myself. But
Yeah, I don't want to do that.
I have to be a bit careful with my angle on that one. But yeah, you can see, I mean, have you ever seen the YouTube channel Macman?
No.
I feel like you'd quite like them actually. I'll go find one of the videos and send them. They're two guys from down in London and England, but they have a massive following of like explaining how England and how weird these things are, how it became that way. They did an entire episode just on why English sound is so difficult to pronounce. And they went through what I said, if you map like certain trends, you can see exactly where the French were, where the Romans were, where the Vikings and the Celtic were over the years.
I'm half surprised nobody's come in and complained about they can't hear the other half. Well, they only hear the other half of the Discord from the mic pickup and not actually like the Discord thing.
Yeah. But I mean, even on the thumbnail of that video, you can see where they've marked it where the Vikings had on the east, and not the west, because there's a mountain in there. And we didn't give them that bit.
Right.
When we finally decided it wasn't worth fighting them, just let them have the east. I don't know how you see it, man.
Well. Looking off screen, I whacked a big rock. Oops. That's what happens when you get distracted, I guess.
Yeah.
But that's why you bring maintenance drones with you.
Another one I find funny in Manchester is, me saying it gets its name from the two hills in that original river. You can't see the river from an area here in Manchester, because the Romans built many, many bridges over it because of where it went to the direct centre of where it built their city. To the point that when Victorian England took over and Manchester kick-started the Industrial Revolution and grew faster than the Victorians could keep up with planning the city, decided this river's in the way. Let's just build over it and completely covered it up. But if you go down the canals that the Victorians then built, you can see that you have to know they're there to notice them. But there were certain mark zones on the edge of the canal. So if you went down into the middle of it, at the very bottom of the canal, there was a grid that you could pull up that the Victorians put there in case it floods, that would drain it into the river underneath, or the river Medlock, sorry, where the canal went over the river. So if it was flood, the Vikings could, the Victorians could send someone down, just unplug the canal and drain it into the river beneath them.
Nice. And then you have Las Vegas. They're spending 50 million, I think. It might be. Ah, Jexia, welcome. We're doing not Discord call because I forgot to set Discord up before I was streaming. Well, to be fair, I rarely do Discord calls, so I redid all of my scenes 2 months ago, and I've just never set Discord audio back up in it. So all you guys get in the stream side is what bleeds through my speakers into the microphone.
Yeah. I don't know if you can actually hear me, but hi.
Yeah, if you didn't, Jake says hi. Yeah, I'm in the little KTA 24. I was thinking of doing some Vilsey hunting, but they haven't popped in yet. And I just smacked a rock really good, so.
Go back to what we originally said with accents. Are you Scottish by any chance, Jexia? Or Irish?
Yeah, I've been meaning to ask if it's j or y, and I keep forgetting. Where the heck are these guys at? Should have popped in by now. Should have had 2 events by now. I don't know what's going on. Hyper rotation plus scanning LiDAR is hysterical.
Oh, Kiwi.
New Zealand. Oh. Which means I know literally nothing about your culture.
Seconded, but
Which
I didn't know you said I in New Zealand though. I thought that was Northern Britain only.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of other places that I've heard use I for an affirmative. Is it?
Yeah, so that's probably where it comes from. Fair enough.
I mean, I get some of that. I'll be doing something, and I'll just slip into a little bit of this right here. I'm not sure why I do it,
that, yeah.
but I think it's a bit silly, so I do it anyway. And then it's, oh, thank you.
It's not even the worst British accent I've ever heard.
I used to be able to do I guess Scottish. The problem is, these days, when I try to do Scottish, after about a sentence or so, I start turning into an Aussie.
Oh, I do that, and
I have no idea why that happens, but I'll get to something that I'm like, I know how to say this. I know how to say this with Scottish, but no, it turns, that's not a knife. That's a knife. I go full Crocodile Dundee. It's like, why are you doing that?
Yeah, Lawrence, have you ever heard Tanako taking the piss out of British? I don't know why he does all, pretty much all American things. They go, "Chew saying it, what the fucking, alright, governor." You're fucking London, innit? Camden Town. And then Tanaka does it, and he comes out with an incredibly scarily accurate Tommy accent. He will come straight out of Birmingham like one of the Peaky Blinders. He'll tell me, he showed me. He starts talking like this. And it scares me how accurate he does it. There are times when he can do the Tommy accent better than I can. And it's so But, like, I know people from Birmingham, like, he gets the accent spot on, and I don't know why he knows the Brummy accent at all. It's not like, with the exception of the Peaky Blinders, it's not exactly well represented in movies or TV shows or anything.
Right.
They've got Tommy Shelby and Jack Grealish is about it. Representation in media. But God knows whether I could pick up the Brummy as the typical British accent, but it does surprisingly well.
I mean, I'm not even sure where the hell I got what I've got.
I mean, everyone else I can start reference I had to really do an accent.
Right, you got that little prep phrase that you use. And I hate...
I do that mentally doing British accents. I can pretty much already do British accents. I try to do anywhere else. I end up slipping.
I hate to admit it, but... And Jacksepticeye said something about it one time, because he did some voice acting for a video game. Or he did... It was IRL acting, because actually...
Yeah.
What the hell was that game? It was some horror game. But he was in...
Kofi's Playground.
Yeah!
Or is it the play? Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And he was on like one of the TV commercial things, and he was talking about how he went in there, and they were like, "Can you do like the Lucky Charms leprechaun?" And he's like, "Why is it every time I go to do voice acting, I give them genuine Irishmen, but they just want Leprechaun Man?"
Yeah.
Because that's when I try to do Irish, which I haven't done in many a year. I
get it quite right.
The way
I love the Irish accent, Northern Irish especially.
My trigger phrase is, "Oh, they took me Lucky Charms there, they did." And I just I feel so bad because now after hearing Jack talk about it, yeah, the just.
Like Dublin or a bit more Southern, but yeah.
And I just now that he said that, I'm like, I'm a dickbag, am I?
The issue for me is the only real reference I have for like Northern Irish when I do it. And there he goes, Joe. Which, if you haven't seen it, watch it. Fucking incredible. But trying to convert the female Northern Irish accent to how I do it doesn't quite come across properly. But the one that I always think of is Claire's line of, "Not interested in you like that. What the fucking hell?"
Yeah, I can see that.
I can do the odd thing. I can sit here and I can do the names. The names I've always been good at. Like, I noticed this with the hockey team. We had a player last season called Andreas here. Like most of the English people in the team just called him Andreas, or there was a few that called him Andy. He was Andreas here, most of the English people. The Canadians kind of sort of had it, because that's the way the French language is over there. But I was one of the few that would roll my eyes, like, even close directly to Andreas here. Just because I have friends in Europe, and I've had plenty of practice with speaking to Kirill.
What's really, really interesting to me is the number of Americans, which it's still weird to me, that cannot roll their R's. They can't like on command.
Most English can't go. But I didn't used to be able to. I remember year 7 and year 8 in French class before, because you don't get to drop it until year 9. Thankfully, I had a global pandemic, so I didn't have to do it 3rd year. I don't think I could have lasted learning French for another year. Fuck me, I hated learning French. I wouldn't have minded learning Spanish, but I just couldn't do the French language. But yeah, not the point. I can never roll my R's. But, it was less than 2 years later than that. It was a year later than that I became friends with Raphael, who's from Moldova. And my friend group now are a very diverse friend group. Right, I mean, most of Manchester is one of the most diverse people on the planet, and I will tell you that any chance I get. We've got the largest Chinese population outside of China. which is mental when you think about the fact that that means there's more Chinese people in Manchester than Mongolia. For example, quite mental to think about. But like,
That's a lot.
I get used to saying names in the way they're meant to be said in their cultures. It takes me a while to get there, but once I get it, fine. Remember when herro came over? He was in year 11. He started the Ukraine war. He came over doing this for quite obvious reasons. And like he introduced himself as Kyle because all the English people that he'd met up at that point couldn't say his name properly, couldn't roll the R's. And I even now I still can't tell you his surname. I don't think I can even spell it. It ends in Enko, begins with a D. That's the best I can give you. But like he introduced himself as Kyle, and that's what we knew him as at the very beginning. Apart from Raphael, who speaks to him in Russian, because he's from Moldova and Kirill is Ukrainian. But now, like, I say Kirill perfectly fine. If like once I can probably say with well, R, but I still struggle with it a bit with Kirill. Kirill. It's a weird one to do. I can't do it with the accent. It just doesn't mix with Mancunian very well. But it's still like you get practice with it, right? It's such over the years, most of my mates, we've got my friend group. There's one of us from every continent apart from South for obvious reasons. But you eventually kind of get used to it, right?
You know, we had a guy, one of my last jobs, Croatian. I think his family came to the U.S. when he was like 9 or 10, so he still spoke, you know, the mother language, and then, but he spoke, you know, very fluent American English. So his name was really simple, okay? Really simple. Everyone called him Matt. His name was Matya. Matya. Really simple. And I can't remember his last name, but typical Soviet bloc kind of, you know, yeah, the Cherowitzes and Horowitzes and all of that kind of strain of names. And I could say his name like the way it was actually pronounced, and nobody else could. Everyone just called him Matt, and I was like, it's just Matya, guys. Like, and there's a chick I used to work with recently. Hers was Dutch, so Marijka, Marijka, and nobody else could say that. They just I don't remember what her nickname was because I've just always called her Marijka. But I read it and I was like, I don't recognize that spelling because I mean, for obvious reasons, I've never dealt with a whole lot of Dutch in my life. So like, I was looking at it and I walked up to her one day and I was just like, tell me how you say this correctly. And she said it and I was like, done. Makes total sense. And from then on, I just called her by her name, and apparently nobody else could figure it out.
There are a few sites that like I know people from foreign names, foreign spelling. Kind of get used to, like I said, the whole schema helps a lot. But it's also like with words and things. Like I noticed, our friend group who was up and running email, to complete if you've ever heard those words. It means there's no direct translation, but that's a bit of what you in Russian. And just after Baroque came our friend group kind of became a running meme of that. And the whole keyboard for we have Joe Morrow came from the out of here. You might know him. Well, he briefly played in Russia. And whenever they won over there, the team in change room, they would play this certain song. So when he came to the store and they were deciding the win song for the year, we win, you know, what song should we play? He recommended the same song from Tika. Which I found quite funny that partner and Kirill. But even now, we've been using this song. We play it in the change room every time we win a game. And including Joe, who played in Russia, I'm the only one who will ever pronounce Suka properly. They all say Suka, Sika, and it's Suka. Like it's, I know it's one of the hard. It's got to say it quickly, somewhere in between a U and a Y with that. But it's Suka. It'll roll if it's Suka Blia, or Sinoi, whatever.
Yeah, I was never very good at Russian pronunciations. I had a book once, and I was trying to teach myself Russian because I think it's a really neat language. Until I got to the point where this letter will make this sound in this sentence, but the same letter will make a completely different sound in this sentence, and the only way you know is you have to know all of these rules for all of those letters that will change the way they sound depending on the letters around them.
To be fair, it's a good cue, like that in English.
Yes,
Like the
and,
way
and English,
C can be a K and an S, depending on where it is.
which is exactly why I've been developing my own alphabet, because I'm tired of that.
Oh, ditch F, because we have no need for it. Just KS, so
Right. So my alphabet is designed around two ideas. One, that no sound can be repeated, and two, that every character is symmetrical along a vertical line of symmetry. So you cannot write them backwards. You can write them upside down, but you cannot write them backwards.
Right.
Because it irritates me when American children write the Cyrillic character ya instead of r, or the Cyrillic character I instead of N. I don't know why. That just bugs the crap out of me.
Oh, yeah. But I mean, like, you look at the English language, you don't need that. You don't need C. Fucking silent letters can piss off altogether.
Don't need Q.
You don't need Q.
Entirety of Soul's tungsten. So yeah, Jexia likes to play modded, and they've got one of the ships that I can no longer show you in my save because I destroyed it. It's one of the it's like a carrier ship, so it's like a home base for a group of people in the game, and I'm sure that when they get done and get back to this screen, which is Enceladus, the space station, you can see Saturn off in the distance there. Space station's kind of rotating around. When they get back there, they've probably cleared about 100 square kilometers of ring material.
Right.
Yes, very large. Actually, how big is the cargo? Also, why do I keep going into the red? Ugh, OBS. It was doing this earlier. For some reason, it keeps going. The compressor's not being aggressive enough. 10 to 1. I got a 10 to 1 ratio in this thing. I'm also supposed to have a limiter. Where the hell is my limiter? Is it in the... Maybe it's in this one. No, it's just the EQ. Where the heck is the limiter? Oh yeah, so you've got the cargo containers along with that. Jesus. I swear I had a frickin' limiter. But the noise gate's working. So like... Okay, can I add a limiter? Is there a limiter? compressor, delay, EQ, gate.
I wish I could help, but my sensitivity is bare bones if possible. Because I don't know what I'm doing.
Tanaka and I set up his a while ago, and I helped Lily set up hers. Lily's, though, we used the stock OBS stuff, and then Tanaka had Reaper tools, which I kept meaning to get before that, but until I was helping Tanaka with his, I really didn't think about it. So, like, yeah, he could fit an Eagle. So, for reference, the Eagle, you saw how small the ship I was in just a second ago. So, this is the ship that I was in, and it's that big in the little box. The Eagle is that big. That big. So, quite a bit larger. This window doesn't really do the size justice. Suffice to say, this whole ship that can fit 6 human beings inside of it, I assume right here, and then tools and reactors and thrusters and all kinds of cargo bay space, like huge cargo bay space, inside of this other ship. It's kind of ridiculous. But we were setting up Tanaka's, and he was using Reaper tools, and I was like, okay, well, to be able to help you, I need to use the tool also so I can see what's going on. So I downloaded them and started putting them in one by one, and I was like, oh, well, this will take the place of this. Oh, well, this will take the place of 3 of these. Oh, well, this will take the place of 4 of these. And so I had a huge list of like 10 or 15 freaking things in here. And then Reaper tools, I got that down to 3. But this guy does not appear to have a limiter. So, what is that? Limiter. Oh, no, that's the name. I'm at Marnie Branch. That's a script player. That's the gate. FIR? Is that the equalizer? Yeah. EQ. Wait, this is different from... Oh, it's the basic EQ. Okay. No limiter in there. MIDI control and compressor. This is the basic compressor. I use the, complex guy. Because it literally has like 2 more settings. I think. No, I use that guy. Never mind, ignore me. Okay, so I guess I need to put in a limiter then, which OBS can do. So limiter, -4-ish. So now if I ba 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 and I max it out, that's as high as it goes. Okay. I swear I had a freaking limiter in there. Well, now I do. Yeah, I hate it when that... The ones that I hate is when you're about to astrogate somewhere, and then it's, bam, the spawn that you were looking for. So you're like 85%, you're like, no, 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 cancel, 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 cancel. What I need to do is find another search and rescue ship, because I'm running out of insurance. And insurance in this game is very simple. It's, you give them $1, they give you replacement parts for worth $2. So it's just a 1 to 2 straight trade thing. I can also go get... Nah. Oops. that last guy that I blew up just a minute ago.
Yeah.
They want 45 grand for me blowing him up. He insulted me, to be fair. He told me that he had a claim beacon. I told him I didn't see his claim beacon. And he said, what are you going to do about it? So I blew him up. That's okay. I can still get 5 grand from his life pod even after paying that. Woohoo! So it's fine. I need to go back out in both the Kothon and I hate the Kitsune so much. The Kitsune is so bad. It's such a terrible piece of machinery. Maybe I can swap out the... Oh, can I put the Nani on here? Where's the... I don't think you can. I mean, is it actually a search and rescue? Because as far as I can tell, there's no penalty for blowing them up. Yeah, so just take their life pod. It's not like you don't have the room. Because I think I've blown up 3 or 4 of them so far and taken their life pods, and they don't seem to have a problem. I don't think they're, I don't think, so Search and Rescue does have a faction. Bam, bam. Let's check in here. I actually want to open this with Notepad++, because it's better. So, I'm pretty sure I said something in the hard AI spoiler chat, and then Hev responded with something. I think it was Hev, and said helper is probably search and rescue. So like, I'm pretty sure, but like, this is my faction state list. So if we look for helper, next one. What I'm looking for is helper. Hold on, I'm looking for this format. So open bracket, helper, open bracket. No, doesn't exist. Really? Wildcard? No, doesn't exist. Wildcard. Doesn't exist. Doesn't exist. Of course not. There it is. Oh, because there's no... boop.
Right, it's what I was talking about earlier with football. That's my team's Man City's bus arriving for an away game at Liverpool. So anyway, this isn't even a derby. This isn't considered in the top levels of rivalries. This is just a big game, and this is the video itself is 2018, but arriving away at Anfield is notorious for this kind of thing.
That is genuinely terrifying.
It is. I've been on the other end of this with joined by Bluefurs at the Etihad when our team bus is arriving whenever we've won the league and things like that. Where it's similar things to that, obviously not throwing things at the bus, but it's the blue flares and the people lining the streets.
Like, that is genuinely, properly terrifying. This is the point where me, as an American, would literally be up in arms hurting people. Like, this is ridiculous.
This is as well, we were in a title race with them at the time, which made it even worse. But they are... The scouts are renowned. This kind of thing. Actually, let me send you a picture. That is a picture of this map.
I mean, as long as you got the cargo space, there's no harm in spending a little bit more time. Oh, speaking of, Jexia, I don't know if you saw, I think it was in my bug report, so I don't know how many people actually go through bug reports, like, actively. I asked Coder, he was looking through some of the logs from that mysterious Phage Theta Moonlet, the Ertis Attilia spawns, where they were spawning 2 at a time, and almost always in the same configuration, which was really weird. I didn't get the logs from the multiple spawns, I only got the one. But he was like, yeah, it looks like this is some weird oddity of long playtimes. And I'm like, so you didn't expect people to play the game for 6 hours in a single sitting? He's like, no, I didn't. Not at all. I'm like, oh, okay. Well, that explains some of the things that I'm seeing, because I will literally sit down. I haven't done it in a week or so, but like I will sit down with this game for like 10 hours. It's the first game second game. Satisfactory I can do this to.
I used to go to Warframe easily.
But it's most games within about an hour I get bored and I'm off, I'm doing other stuff. Granted, since I started streaming, I seem to put more hours into an individual task in one go than I previously have any point in my life. So I don't know. $65. 67. Is this making? Wait, what? I don't even need all that, do I? Yeah, but then you have a whole cargo bay that you can fill up too. So 12 gig thermal. Da-da-da. 3. Huh, and he doesn't take thermal, does he? No. I don't need that either.
Yeah, so those are the pictures I was looking for, but those are quite good show of when City won those, not last year but the year before, was the parade in town when the team bus goes through its trophies. Man, this is one small picture of one very small part of the town they went through.
Oh yeah, I can imagine. And I mean
I
there's
was present. I don't think I'm in either of those two pictures, but I was present for this.
See, I can't even do any crowd like that, and I'm changing cities while that's happening. Like, I'm going somewhere else entirely. Yeah, I keep forgetting to do that, Jexy. I keep forgetting to go to my frickin' my beacons. I guess I should probably do that. I'm trying to wait for astro points to start falling off. I think I'm going to let a bunch of them expire. Because, like, I need to go grab these in a minute, but they have plenty of time on them. I need to let these 2 expire. I need to keep these. Don't need that one. I want to keep that one. Don't need that one. Don't need that one. Don't need that one. I want to keep that one. Don't need that one. I want to keep all the Ubuntos and the GA base. I also need to get Lemmy in here because Lemmy said they'd rate my French accent. And the only word I have right now that's French is atelier.
French one's surprisingly easy. That's stereotypical French. I couldn't say how to do it sounds. I don't even know what the various specific accents are called, but I speak from like almost like from the back of your throat, if that makes sense. Like it's very. I mean, there's the stereotypical how we be.
Right.
Somewhat accurate though of how you speak.
So there's a group of guys that I think it's 4 of them or 5 of them that they've gotten together. They're from different places in France, and they've gotten together, and they'll all say the same word, and a lot of the times they're very much the same, but a lot of times like the Parisian is radically different from everybody else, and they just like they'll look at them like, "Are you sure that's how you say that, man?" Or what they'll do sometimes too, they do correcting other people's pronunciations of things, and that's always a funny one. Because there was one where they were like L'Oreal,
Oh yeah.
which is the beauty product company,
Yeah, we say L'Oreal.
and they got on there with their their disgusted French faces. Oh, oui oui, my cheese stinks more than yours. that guy, and they would do that. It's all fun and games. You can always see they're trying not to laugh when they're doing it, so they're just having fun. But it's like when they do it, they each time the next guy, like the first guy will say it, and the next guy will put his hand up and do a little bit of a hand gesture with it, and the next guy will scrunch his face up a little bit and do a bigger hand gesture with it, and they get more and more ridiculous each time they do it. It's just I wish I could remember the name of the channel. It was really funny.
I feel like that anyway. But the ones that are like the words where they'll say differently, they act pretty different depending where you're from. In England, it's like it's a huge thing. You can tell people are just by what they call a bam or bam pronunciation. I call it a bam, and it's like Bergman. Usually just like breakfast. It's just a type of bread. But you could drive 5 minutes in the UK, and that town will call it a completely different thing. There are places in the UK that call it bread rolls or a bread cake. Some parts of it call it a bun. They're all wrong, it's a bun. But everyone gets unnecessarily aggressive about it, like everyone defends it. They're the ones that are right.
That's always the way it goes.
But it's weirdly like what someone puts on their chips is a good way of knowing. Like our chips, not your chips. Because like fucking anyone born south of Watford can't put gravy on it. They're all weirdos.
Gravy.
They refuse, not like our gravy, not your weird one.
Okay, because the gravy that comes, well, 2 gravies come to mind when I think of the word gravy, right? They both share that they are a thick topping sauce that goes on, I mean, any number of dishes you want to stick it on. Both of them are typically made from a base of some starch and an animal fat.
Yeah.
And we have white gravy, which is pork fat and flour, and it's just the most terrible. It's horrible. And then we have brown gravies, which are usually a beef fat and some amount of spices and a starch. And I like brown gravy. I actually think
brown gravy's what we have in the UK.
Thinking about it now, brown gravy on chips sounds really good.
It is. From what I've seen of American gravy in UK, you guys tend to do it a lot thicker than we do. We tend to do it a lot more thin and red.
So it's more
more or less.
It's more a sauce and less a paste.
Yeah, it's very much a sauce. I mean, everyone likes depends on who makes it, like away or from. But gravy's a come on. If you go to a chippy, you can tell. Because in my college, one of my friends is from a town just outside of Manchester. It's still within the Greater Manchester region, but it's not Manchester. It's its own city. I'm not going to adopt him, but and like we always say the joke, he's significantly more northern than us. Like he has a noticeable different accent. And even though it's half an hour's drive at the absolute worst with traffic, he's a lot more like someone from Yorkshire than someone from Manchester. Just it was a coal mining town as opposed to Victorian industrial, which is Manchester. So it's weirdly quite a big culture difference. But like, we got an extended lunch one day, so we decided to go to Chippy because it meant we could actually walk to it and from it without being late for whatever else after lunch was. And I go up, get whatever curry sauce and the chips, like a normal northwestern English person would. My mate does the same, and then he comes along and gets gravy because he's popping nothing. And it's quite a debate as was going on for our college for a full week after that. Because I put on my story of like asking people's opinions, and like this was about February. Someone at the hockey came up to me today about it. Not today, so yesterday about it. Which was quite funny, but like things like that. There's so many little things in the UK that you can tell where someone's from just by that.
And nobody outside the UK can recognize those things at all.
Yeah, most of them not.
They're just like, oh, it's just another limey.
Yeah.
Yeah, I tend to do that too, Jexia. Most especially in the OCP when I'm trying to washing machine all of the crap into the MPU. Because the OCP is the most glorious thing ever built. He said, not sarcastically at all. Speaking of beacons. And while I doubt I'll ever go traveling outside of the US all that much, I'd love to. But there's some key things about my personality that I have to figure out how to parse before I start doing that. Number one is my issue with many other places in the world, some of which I wish to travel to, that have a problem with the rights of defense of self and property, which is a big part of my personality these days. So, like, I got to figure out how to deal with that. But I would love to go to. I won't need that in Japan if I ever go to Japan, because the culture there is just the Japanese don't have a tendency to attack each other for no reason.
That's so good.
And then same with like a lot of Scandinavia, where I like Finland. People standing in a queue in Finland, they're standing 6 to 8 feet from each other. There's a nice good distance. Stay out of my damn bubble.
Oh, the way the British are with queues are incredible.
Yeah, it's a social experience in the UK.
Yeah.
Where you go up and you expect to meet the people standing around you, and you're going to have a chat, and it's fun, and it's entertaining, and no. I can smell you. Get away from me.
It depends on where you're from. It's a running joke that you could let a northerner loose on the streets of London and put at least 3 cockneys in a coma just by saying hello to them. But northerners tend to be very friendly. They're either very friendly or they won't even look at you because you dress like a road would. Like I'm walking out, I'll smile to I'll say hi, whatever. But the second I see the black puffer jacket and the you guys call them fanny packs, I believe. But that type of bag, I'm not even going to acknowledge their existence. If they speak to me, I'll give them an answer. That's it. Because chances are they're carrying. And it's just no.
Yeah. So in the U.S., there's a really interesting effect. So with U.S. culture being what it is, we've already talked about it. The U.S. Constitution, the Second Amendment. There's the culture in the U.S. for firearm ownership. Me personally, okay, and I don't know if live stream is kind of the place or the time or whatever, but fuck it, whatever. I can delete the VOD later if they bitch about it. YouTube's really weird about firearms because they're like, oh, well, we will have viewers in other countries and localities where this stuff isn't necessarily legal, blah, 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 then don't send them that video. Like, that's literally your job. But, so me, I carry, open carry, a large frame revolver on my hip. Granted, it's an antiquated piece of machinery. There are smaller, more compact, more, I guess, useful options. But I do it mostly for the psychological effect as opposed to the defense effect. It's if someone comes in and they don't see anybody that can hurt them and they're a bad person and they want to hurt somebody else, they're just going to start hurting people. If they come in and they see somebody with this giant honking thing in their hip, and I'm not a small dude, and I got kind of resting bitch face. So, like, they see this angry guy with this big thing on his hip, and they're like, the ideal case is maybe not today. And they turn around, they walk the other way, and yes, a big iron. Literally, that's why I purchased the piece that I purchased, is specifically for that. Big iron on his hip, right? That whole trope. So, I need to figure out what this is. Oh, it's a freaking... no hail, though. But the alternative case is being in Utah, open carry, Idaho, open carry, where I'm going to Michigan, open carry. A lot of this, I refuse to drive through a state that tries to apply stringent restrictions to the ownership or purchase or transportation of a firearm. I won't even give them gas tax money. Fuck them. So the alternative thing is that, oh, I know what that is. It's a cargo container that I can't catch up to. Okay, that's fine. The alternative is, guy comes in and he sees me and he's like, well, I have one too, and I'm here to hurt some people, so I'm gonna take out the people that I know can stop me first. My life isn't worth all that much. I'm a nobody. I'm some schmo that has a small YouTube channel and like 6 friends in real life, and 3 of them will be sad if I get hurt or die. And it's like, if he takes me out and that gives somebody else the time to unholster their concealed carry and stop the guy that's hurting people, and people with families get to go home to their families, then so be it. My life has served some purpose. Because I have a very serious, not ethical, philosophical issue with people who take it upon themselves to hurt others. There's a very, very big problem in my mind. And the laws in the U.S. have gotten very gray area and squishy on the matter because of, well, various reasons. But in my mind, any force is authorized to stop somebody from even punching, even tripping somebody that is not a joke, or, you know, like, screwing around is one thing, but if you walk up behind some kid and you hit a kid, no, man, I'm putting one in your head. Stop. Like, I have zero tolerance for those people.
It's weird when you compare the US and the UK. So it's carrying in the US and carrying in the UK. Those two very different. I mean, I don't carry, I'd never will. Obviously, I'm not going to say too much into detail because YouTube gets a bit weird with especially carrying in the UK because, well, it's illegal and it's carrying a very different sort of weapon. But I don't carry, and I don't know anyone who has or ever will. But I've been pulled on a few times, and I can confidently say 95% of the time in the UK, you don't get pulled on if you don't deserve it. Like, you'll see things in the news of, oh yeah, innocent guy, whatever, Southwest 3 teenagers. Like, no.
He did
What
something.
did he do?
Yeah, he did
What
something.
did he say? You don't get pulled on for nothing.
And
I know that's from experience. Is one of my friends growing up had Tourette's, if you know what that is. But it's a condition that basically means you will have involuntary movements and involuntarily shout certain words.
right.
And we were in the park playing football or whatever. A friend of mine, we were, I think, 12 when this happened. And he shouted, "Fuck off," at a random guy going past. Who I actually know this guy later on. I didn't realise at the time who he was, but I knew his younger sister. Not that I spoken to him since incident, to be honest. And now, I did not know anything, just seeing the guy and yell "fuck off" at him. Automatic came in a confrontation, and my mate being a bit respectfully being special didn't exactly make things better. And like, I didn't step in front of him because at this point he's reached for his back pocket. Everyone knows what he's got in back pocket.
Right.
By the way, he's reached for it. So I've spoken to him, but I've kept my distance. Right. I'm obviously gonna tell him, you're a threat, you can't help it, whatever. But if he decides he's getting a knife in him anyway, fuck all I can do. I'm running for that gate, and then I'm calling the police when I'm away from him. But there's fuck all I can do about it, really.
Right.
And, thankfully it was quite reasonable when I explained the situation. But you never get pulled on for no reason.
For the most part, for the most part, anywhere on the planet, that is the case. My concern always comes back to, at least in the U.S., and granted, I don't know that today it's still a valid argument necessarily, but in the 80s, Nixon kicked everybody out of mental institutions and just dumped them on the street. No recourse. A lot of these people had no family to take care of them. They had nowhere to go. So now you've got all these people who are institutionalized, that were being cared for, that this is one of those things where I will jump on board with some kind of a universal healthcare system. People that are a danger to society and to others around them being cared for properly, healthily, and correctly in a facility that is good for them, that can treat them, etc., etc. The problem was in the U.S., they weren't necessarily that, right? So that had some play into the decision. Money had some play into the decision. It's a whole giant mess. But you've got, all these people just kicked out on the street, and without their meds, and without their counseling, and without their groups, without their help, they revert to just being absolute and complete nutters. And sometimes it's 0.5% of cases, right? But knowing my luck and my life is such that I live well within that 0.5%. I am there at all times. I will be the guy that will encounter this person that is just snapped or is just off. And if they had their meds, if they could see their counselors and their doctors, if they were on the right path, they'd be perfectly fine, but they're not. And the system has forgotten them, right? Chances are in my life, I'm going to run across them, and very probably I'm going to be the one that gets hurt by them, right? And if I can protect myself, I will absolutely protect myself. Yeah, I think the moonlets do that, Jexia, where I had 1 second, Jake. I had a beacon, like right here-ish, right? And then I had IRRS theta, phage theta, the big moonlet up here. And I never refreshed the moon, but I never got an event spawn at that beacon. Never. So I ended up having to move it here. It was here, alpha, and now it's down here. So but I did just get a big LiDAR contact. That's good. Anyway, sorry, Jake, continue.
Then, with US, because you're allowed to carry, it's one of those things, if one of those people snaps, they have access to things, but you also have, like you said, access UK, it's a lot harder to get both. So with that sort of incident, how bad it is if they do get their hands on a weapon. And the riots ensued after that because he was unfortunately not white, and that's all it took for the far right to start smashing things. But
I mean, that's the same argument
time,
the people here use to try to limit the ownership of these devices. And it's like, at the end of the day, like, if you can't get your hands on something that goes bang bang, what are you going to do? You're going to go get the next best thing. Something goes snick snick. Something goes whoosh whoosh, right? Criminals will find a way, plain and simple.
Yeah. The thing is, with something that goes whoosh whoosh, like it is in the UK, is you can tell who carries, and you can tell, especially if you go up in a rough area and you're not like completely incompetent, you can tell either who carries or who knows people. And if you pick fights carefully, you'll never have an issue. Which I have always been very good at, given the rough area I have, and I'm pretty small, I can't fight, and I chat a lot of shit.
Yeah.
And I'm quite loud. So I know when to pick fights and when to let one fight. And I know enough people I could probably send a few texts out if I really, really wanted to, and find someone to cover for me in these situations. Not that I ever will. If I get into it, I'll deal with it myself. But I'll never fucking carry and I'll never follow someone. But there was actually one incident at college with the guy who was an ex-boyfriend of one of my mates who properly kicked off with me.
Jexy, I found some mics.
I know he knows people. But the thing is, I know he's a massive pussy. In any other circumstance, I could have had him.
I mean, I am too.
He wouldn't come up to me when one of my friends is quite big. He wouldn't come up to me. He wouldn't even look at me when he was around. But he called me alone and he would chat shit and he'd get in my face. He knows I'm not going to do anything because he knows I know. You know what I mean?
I mean, I am exactly the same way, where I am, for the most part, I'm a giant pussy. I will never fight somebody if I can avoid it.
I have the different scenario where I'll avoid it if I know that they are dangerous, like they know someone who carries or they carry themselves. But if I get myself into them, even though I know I'm going to lose, I will likely stand on ground out of principle. If I get myself into a fist fight, just out of pure principle. Not that it happens particularly often, but it's just principle, right? It's my issue, I'll deal with it, kind of thing.
Right.
But you tend to notice that in the UK, where, like I said with this guy, he knows he could get in my face because he had friends, or in some cases, they are the person who could fuck shit up if they needed to. Whereas when they come across someone else who is like this, things will escalate until one of them actually stands on business and isn't just chatting shit. Whereas the people that are both chill and don't have this kind of thing will have nothing behind them. It's when you get someone who has something behind them and someone who doesn't is when you get the problem. But so you guys say you use it as a deterrent, right?
Right.
But if
ideally,
to escalate that alternate case, shit's gonna go down. And that's how it is most of the time in the UK, but especially with things that go whoosh whoosh, you can't see it visibly ever. But you can usually know who carries or who will know someone who carries. So if you're streetwise, you'll always be able to avoid it. It just takes one person who isn't, and it will all go to pot.
Yeah, but what if you're like me? You like to talk shit and you are too stupid to realize all of that.
Those one or two mistakes will go. And you know what? I've been there. And thankfully, he was a fucking retard. And I can't say that word on YouTube. He was a fucking...
Numbskull.
Yeah. And I got away with it fine. Like, if he really, really wanted to, he could probably still track me to this day. I don't think he's still bothered for. At the time, I pretended I hadn't seen him in the street, calmly walked around that corner until I was outside and fucking pegged it. And that's the last I ever heard from this kid. It's one of those, if your weapon's present, it's a problem, because, and it's, yeah.
And I tend to live in that.
You guys had the right idea. It's just, it takes one person to make the mistake.
Right, and that's...
when it's not escalating and there's weapons involved, nothing's going to de-escalate it.
Right. And granted, like, I absolutely am on board with the idea of a society that's like, well, we don't need these, so let's just get rid of them. Fucking awesome. Yes, I totally agree.
There's too many of them floating about for you guys just to pull the plug like that.
Right, there's that. And then, I mean, so have you ever... I imagine the UK's got places you can go to rent or use in their facility, firing ranges, whatever like that. You go in, you pay for some rounds, you pay for a piece of hardware, and you shoot.
They're not common, but you do get them, and you do tend to get like for proper posh shows. It's a lot of money, but in the country.
Oh, okay. And I mean, I know like out in the countryside of Wales, like farmers still carry shotguns and stuff. Like
well, pretty much all farmers will carry. Farmers are allowed to.
Right.
Like, people think there's no guns in their country. No, you can get them, and it's surprisingly easy. It's just you need to own land.
You have to have a purpose for it. Yeah. And
it's, yeah.
And like,
it's impossible to get one without it being known, or it's more or less impossible to get one without it coming up.
So my question is, have you personally ever used a firearm?
No, I would use airsoft. That's the first I've ever got.
Okay, so there's something, I don't know what it is. Okay, I have no idea. A buddy of mine years ago had a girlfriend in Germany. She came to visit, and she was standard European. Like everybody in Europe pretty much has about the same idea. We understand, wars and blah 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 and all this, and we understand personal defense, but we don't understand why Americans need so many of them. And then she comes to visit, right? And my buddy and I both, what's the level just below nut job? So we're both enthusiasts, right? So we know things, we have things, we go out. This was in Vegas, so you go out just outside of town and there's firing ranges. You go out the middle of the desert, you take some steel and ding 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 ding, and you have some fun. So we took her out, and we took out a few fun toys, and we were out there, and by the time we got done, she was like, okay, yeah, no, I need to move to the US and get me some of these. Because it's just cathartic. There's something about it that is just like, this, even if you're not using it for personal defense, it's a fun toy. Plain and simple. And that, I mean,
they do say that.
most...
I mean, I only did airsoft, but I fucking loved it when I was doing it.
Yeah, and there's just something about it. I don't know what it is. I mean, I'm sure you've seen the Polish airsoft videos, because those guys are like nutty into airsoft. And which I think is weird, because I think in Poland is similar to the US in that obtaining the actual hardware is not all that difficult.
It isn't. It's not like most of Eastern Europe. If you actually could get a gun pretty easily.
But I mean, I guess it's the whole war games thing, right? Humans have always been big into war games, so playing with the tools with other people, you can't really shoot them with real bullets. That's bad. That's a no-no. So we go out airsoft and...
It's literally ingrained into human DNA. we're pack animals at the end of the day.
Right.
Like,
so, and some of those guys, like I've seen, like the Polish, there's that one guy, that sniper dude, that full ghillie suit, and like he's got this thing. I don't know what the heck he's done to this airsoft, but it is, I don't know how you make airsoft accurate. It's round. That's the reason we started rifling barrels in the first place, is because the round shots from, say, the American Revolution and the American Civil War shortly thereafter, they don't fly very well. They curve a lot.
No, they don't.
And this one Polish sniper dude is like, he can get this round to go up almost 100 yards. You can rifle what? How do you rifle airsoft? I mean, it's softer. I get that, but like, they're tiny. That's got to be insane.
No, I know, it's so hard to aim them. Like, I'm not the best to shoot against, but I'm fairly good. Like, I know how to aim.
Bullet drop and windage and all that stuff, yeah.
Yeah. But then it's weird the way they shoot and the way they move in the air.
So how do you...
So I was always really good at archery. I was in primary school in England, which is like your elementary. But say, in my school at least, they had some random things today that was still on sports time. Archery included and fencing, which is just sword fighting. I was very good with both, surprisingly. I would have loved to continue doing fencing if it was a thing you could easily do in the UK, to be honest. Because sword fighting is cool.
Why is it not? I feel like fencing would be like a really, really big thing in the UK.
It is, but it's
for the...
It's one of those very much an upper class sport, pretty much. And being in an industrial city in Manchester,
yeah.
you can do it.
Gotcha.
Like, if I was down in London, easily. But up in the north, it's not as big a thing, so it's hard to do. And archery's a bit similar, but I was interested in that. But I was weirdly good at it. But yeah, like, when I did ask, I just couldn't get the aim right. I mean, if I do it longer, maybe.
Yeah, I've got me, I don't even know exactly what it is. It's a longbow of some sort, but the thing's 6 foot tall. It's taller than me.
What's 6 foot, sorry?
A longbow that I've got. I don't know exactly what kind of longbow it is. I don't think it's British. But the thing's enormous. But the arrows that I bought it off my buddy. He got it at I don't know what the equivalent of Goodwill is in the UK. It's a place where you donate stuff and then they charge $5 or $6 for it, and then they give all that to charity.
It's just charity shop.
Yeah.
We have lots of...
So he got it there for like $10. They hadn't even priced it yet. It was sitting on a shelf in the back, and he just kind of saw it through a slat in the shelves. He was like, "So what about that bow?" And it came with a little quiver and a few arrows that are 4 inches too short for it, so you can't fire it. And the string appears to be in good shape because the string has to be in good shape. He's the one that supplied it, so the string is in good shape because he bought it. And then the arrows are too short. So I've had this thing for 3 years now, and I've never fired it because I'm too lazy to go get arrows. But I've always thought that, getting a little, because in the US, in cities, like in any city at all, discharging a firearm, a gas-propelled piece of lead, is very, very, very illegal, right? Because you never know where that thing's going to end up. Population density is what they are. Like, you very well could hurt somebody in town. But archery, on the other hand, you can fire arrows into a beanbag in your backyard all day long. Let your neighbors know, hey, there might be a dull arrow coming through your fence. Just to warn you, don't shoot their dog. You're fine. You're okay. Some places, they try to regulate it. You got to get, like, not a license, but you got to, like, make sure that it's okay with your locality, blah, blah, blah. Like, everywhere's a little bit different. But for the most part, you can fire a bow and arrow. I don't think crossbows are legal, because of just the power to the energy contained in the whole shebang. But like, I've always meant to get the hardware to play with it, and I just never have. And Jexia says, I know I'm a bit late, that apparently airsoft, they make them backspin, which I still don't know how you would. I guess the firing mechanism. I don't know.
What's always going on in the UK is there are some laws left over which never got removed, which are very fun when you look at them. Which means if you would stand on the English side of the England-Wales border, and a Welshman was to try and cross this border on foot. No bikes, no horses, no cars, nothing. Only if they try and walk from Wales to England.
Oh.
You can ping them with a bow and arrow, perfectly legal. No one can stop you.
What the fuck?
If there is a Welshman within, not Welshman, sorry, Scotland, within the York walls after midnight, you can ping them with a bow and arrow. No one can stop you.
Where the hell?
If they're outside of the walls in York, can't do anything. But if they're inside the wall, ping them with a bow and arrow. No one can stop you. It's the Lord left over from hundreds and hundreds of years ago.
That is actually hysterical.
The best thing is the Welshman, if you can't go from England to Wales, only if they're trying to ping them with a bow and arrow.
That's really funny, actually.
There's so many like you know, suspicious
A salmon?
can't handle a salmon.
What?
I would love to know the story and why that has been national law. But you can't fish for a salmon. You get arrested.
How does one suspiciously handle a salmon?
No. Don't think you want out. Yeah. I remember the sideline. There's some people who was when they heard found out the law. Now we're going on. And there's a state where I think where they had to risk state to cannot take your pet life to it has to be risk state law. I also know in Florida you cannot leave an elephant at a car park spot and pay a ticket for a car.
So there's a town in Oklahoma that still on the town constitution today, you are required to tie up your mode of transportation before entering a place of business. Left over from the days of, horse and buggy, but also people would ride, mules and buffalo and cows, whatever they had laying around. So they had to word it as mode of transportation. I also know there's a town in California where it is illegal to park anything considered a truck, so SUV, pickup truck, anything like that, on the road, in your driveway, or in your yard. It must be parked inside the garage with the door closed.
Oh yeah. There's one in Scotland and only Scotland. It's illegal for a boy under the age of 10 to be a mechanic.
Huh?
And the person who owns the mechanic would be liable for arrest for him.
Why mannequins?
I don't want to know.
The Model E is so terrible at handling whenever it's loaded. Oh, this thing is so bad. I keep crashing in the crap. How do you... Why were there gambling in libraries?
I don't.
I mean, every single law in existence exists because somebody screwed something up somewhere.
Yeah.
Like, somebody did it.
Three of my favorite ones here. It's illegal to be found guilty.
What?
It's illegal for cows on daylight. And members of parliament cannot wear any form of a parliament in parliament forces. I want to know who walked into parliament all night
Yeah, exactly. Apparently. What? I mean, that one I can see. Right. Which, how do you control that exactly? Nah, I agree with that one. I mean, if you're killing a swan in the first place, like, screw you, guy. Now, a goose, on the other hand, the geese deserve it. Geese are jerks. So I see some dude strangling a goose on the side of the road, telling him, "Where's my money?" I'm just looking the other way. Oh yeah, Jexy just got a perfect K-37. I don't know what causes that to happen. I really like to know, like, in the lore universe, why there would be a perfectly functional ship out in the middle of nowhere. I mean, that's the only thing I could come up with. Something happened and everybody spaced themselves, or like some disease. But then you'd think there'd be like some mention of, oh, there are all these dead bodies everywhere. Right. Define excessive. What if you're crying and you fell asleep on the grave? After midnight. So, in I don't remember if it was Shut up, shit. Wow. So in Texas, it is still on the books that stealing another man's horse is a hangable offense. And Texans all hate people from Oklahoma, Oklahomians, whatever you want to call them, because back in the day, so this had to have been Uh, so it would have been post 1849, or it had to have been sometime in the 1840s, because the 1840s was about the point of the gold rush in California, where everybody was moving west to California because we'd found gold in them Naur hills. So there was the great land race. It's the reason why the arch in St. Louis, Missouri was built in the first place. It was the gateway to the west. So they had a thing where the US government gave people a flag. You go, you sign a thing with your name, and you get a flag, and you go out, and the idea is the race starts on this day at this time. There will be the people that start, the race starters with the blanks, the flare guns or whatever the hell they are. So there will be a bunch of those lined up along this whole line. You go out there, and when the race sets off, you go out, you find a piece of land, you put your stake in it, and that is your land to homestead. You build a home, it's yours. No fees, no requirements, no nothing. That is yours. There were obviously some contested things and some stuff happened, but a lot of the land that is now currently Oklahoma ended up being suspiciously staked or staked before the race, because people from the race that set off legally found that this area was already staked prior to the race start, or as the race was getting to that point. And so what it's where the college football name the Sooners comes from, because those people went out sooner than the race. And a lot of people that settled in Texas ended up disliking the people that originally settled in Oklahoma because they were cheaters, and it's been a huge thing. So I guess that would fall along the same lines of that old historical family lines sporting thing, is that kind of feud. Jeez. Our species and its history is completely ridiculous. It's just completely absurd. Yep. Yeah, Jexia, if you want a good use for the Model E, much better than the Kitsune for astrogation point renewals, because it's a lot more maneuverable, and picking up rogue containers or the ones you buy from the GA, because it catches up to them before they even start moving. Whereas the OCP, by the time I catch up to the freaking container in the OCP, I'm doing 100 meters a second, which is fast. Far too fast. And I like this beamformed radar or LiDAR, I guess, because you can point away and it doesn't stop you when rocks appear. from astrogating. Love it. They made a friend. That's how you grow your army. Go behind enemy lines and recruit their own citizens. That's hysterical. So there's an American town that, and I don't remember if it's a cat or a chicken, but has either a cat or a chicken for a mayor. And every year, come election time, the cat or chicken wins the election because it runs uncontested. Nobody dares cross this cat or chicken. I think it's a cat. Cat feels more reasonable. That's crazy. The best part is the beer. And I... like, I'm not messing with these guys. No. We're going home and we're gonna drink some beer. Kind of crazy. I mean, when you're like fighting is one thing, but backed into a corner and fighting for your life, like that's a whole thing other. Yeah, I can imagine, Jexia. That thing's like ridiculous. It has what, 16 RCSs or something? It's nutty. Yeah, it's pretty sun coming up time for you right now. All right, have a good time. I hope to see you again soon. I love that lurk message. It's so funny. It's hysterical. It makes me go nyuk 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 nyuk. Yeah, also, main drives. Oops, I'm in the wrong window. I need to get away from the GA because they're going to drain all my drones, and I need to keep some of them. 15 grand. That seems reasonable. I don't know why the hell my frame rate is tanking so bad. Like, it's literally just the GA base. I don't know what's going on. That's crazy. I mean, could you fit it with nothing but 2205s? Is that like out of the question? Is that crazy? Because my favorite main drive is the 2205. That's what's on my great and almighty round one. Yes, you could mount them, or yes, it's crazy. Oh my god. Okay, I've got to see that. 10 nannies? What the heck is going on with my frame rate? I've never had this much trouble. Oh dear lord. At least a couple of GIFs in the Discord of that. Just like maneuvering a little bit. Oh, I don't want that one. I want that one. Okay, so Ganymedian ship, right? I bought this from the GA. Before we do much of anything else, she's fair game. You get the dialogue for salvage. I don't know what the hell's going on with my frame rate right now. I've never had this much trouble. Oh, I'm on the experimental branch. Stuff is different. Okay. Nope. It's broken. Okay. That's fine. Yeah, I don't remember who I was telling. Somebody I was telling. I think it's in spoilers. Might be in Delta V. I don't know. But the about 40% of the time, I recover the GA sold ships successfully without an arm. So like the zaps, but not the zaps. Would you stop that? Really? Fucking seriously? Stupid life pod. Stupid autopilot. That makes me quite upset. I wanted that ship. 50 grand for a life pod is not 400 grand for a derelict. Well, I guess I can go get these other two then. And next time, maybe I'll turn the stupid autopilot off. 445 meg. Oof. See, I only like the gimbal on the Model E. I've never flown another ship where gimbaled main drives did anything for me, where they made any kind of a sense at all. They just I tried them on the Kothon. So my problem with gimbaled main drives, each. But what do you mean each? No. Well, I mean if you're running nannies, yeah, that kind of makes sense. Still though, that's. So then I guess what to run that then you'd have to have a modded reactor core and modded turbines, because there's no way the stock stuff can. That's not the nannies. What the hell are you running that's running that much? Oh, those are the. Really? That's it? Does it do the same calculations? Okay, before we do this, we're going to turn off DQ. No. Can I like... Oh, he goes back out to it. Yeah, so the experimental branch is very, very not FPS friendly. I might have to go back to the regular beta branch. No. Because this is nearly uncontrollable. Every time I thruster it sends me to 4 FPS. But this guy's got some guns on him, so we definitely need to take him with. Okay, we're going to go here, and we're going to turn the frickin' autopilot off. And hopefully we don't crash into anything. So does the mod, I guess, does the physics engine correctly model the weight of modded ships, is the question I'm trying to ask. Do you actually feel the weight of the BBW as you imagine you actually would? Or does it pretend it's a smaller ship just with a lot more equipment options? See, the 2205 has 2200 stock, and you could take it up to what, 3400, I think. So like, but I'm a power demon in this game apparently. I like being able to speed up at will. Hey WT, what's going on? You missed all the philosophical and cultural conversations. Yeah, I kind of wish there were some bigger tanks for some of the bigger ships. Bigger than the freighter class tanks, even. Because I tend to run out sometimes. But I also do, like I said earlier, Coder wasn't expecting people like me playing 6 or 7 hour dives in one go. So, like, you know. Not me. I don't care about efficient, which is funny because in real life, all of my vehicles are fuel efficient. I drive a Honda Civic that gets anywhere between 40 and 65 miles of the gallon highway. Granted, city's like abysmal compared to that, but with the AC, my last tank, I did an average of 28 miles to the 28 and a half. And that is like terribly, terribly bad. And then my motorcycle, tuned 300cc Kawasaki, I get 65 average. I try to keep it above 90 in the city, but stop and go obviously uses a bunch more fuel, so etc. etc. Oh, wrong way, wrong way, wrong way. That's okay, you can bonk him. I don't remember. One of these I think was a Kothon. Because the GA likes to sell me Kothons. But I've got the... How big is this guy? 500 tons? Yeah, this is the Kothon. Okay, so now I've got to... This is the fun part. Matching velocity in a ring or a rock-rich environment, chasing a ship with already another ship in tow. So first we're going to try to board it and see if we can't. This is why I bring maintenance drones. And then you get the timer. Tickety-tack, tickety-tack. Come on, come on, timer. Holy crap, my frame rate just tanked. Oh, it's broke. So we've got to pick it up. Map. Yeah, I'm going to have to go back to the beta branch. This is, at least on my machine, this doesn't work. This is way too chuggy to be playable. Because in the beta branch, I could easily pick up 2 ships and haul them back. But I can't do that right now. Microphone. Also, my microphone mount broke on my camera stand. So now I'm back to, because I'm going to be moving in a little bit, microphone sitting on my pillow, which means every time I fucking move, it falls over and gives you guys a... which is super annoying. I know it's super annoying, and I apologize. But I guess let's get these 2 and a life pod back to Enceladus, and I think that might be it for me for the night. Just because sitting here the way I sit here, I'm still not rested from the week of working on cars, and my hands are hurting, my back's hurting. I need to get up and move around a little bit. Oh. I also missed the start of somebody that I very much enjoy watching. Oh, it looks like he's playing Dredge. Cool. So, life pod, 2 ships. I will deal with those, put them at the top so I know they're there because I will forget them. I will deal with those tomorrow. I'm going to do the repairs on here just so it's already done. And then I am going to call it for the night. I guess I'll apologize a little bit, Jexia, for being in a kind of silly Discord conversation that you only really got 1.5 of because I don't have Discord set up for streaming, and for not being the most entertaining conversation, which is kind of the point of a streamer, I guess. But given the chuggies and everything, I'm definitely gonna have to go back to the beta branch, get off the experimental. Like I'm gonna do that like as soon as I close the game. Well, that's good. At least somebody does. At least I can provide, a little bit of background noise for somebody, and that's honestly kind of why I'm here. It's entertaining to me, and also it gives me a repository for it gives me a reason to play a game that I like to play, right? It gives me justification. I can say I'm doing it for the channel. So here we are. That would be kind of cool, actually. Instead of like a proper multiplayer, if you could have just like you and your friends jump into the rings at different points. Maybe they don't even do like a full physics interaction system. Maybe someone hosts a local server and the rocks all spawn in to the people's local areas like normal, like single player. If you come across each other, you're on different planes. So sort of like the mining companion swarms. So you can talk to each other because you're within comms distance, and if you destroy a rock on your plane, you can see the debris from the other plane. But like you can't fire on each other. I don't know how you'd handle that though. Maybe you just don't show the weapons fire across planes. Maybe I'll put that in community ideas. Because that would be a way to have, community multiplayer type involvement that people kind of crave without breaking sort of the I'm all alone out here monotony of space mining that the game is really meant to portray. So, I'm going to close the game, I'm going to go back to the beta, and then I'm going to get in the Discord and I'm going to put that in community ideas. Courtesy of Jexia. On that note, we will go back to... See, that I don't... I mean, I guess if you're in the vicinity of another human player, maybe NPC events don't spawn. Maybe you just get environmental events. So thrusteroids, hellroids, moonlets, things of that nature. But you'll never get an NPC spawn? Right, and that's like... trying to make a game like this run in real time with all of the physics going on, and like, because a shooter game is you have bullets and that's all you have, and that is just straight line trajectories, and that's not bouncing off of stuff and continuing more physics from those physics. Like, this is a lot of physics, like a lot of physics all going on at one time, which is why I'm getting the chuggies and struggling, because my poor old FX series processor is like getting on an 8. I think it's 12 years old at this point. So like in computer age, that's ancient. Like it's had brothers and sisters die and their children die since it was born. So like it is old, and it really doesn't like the physics. Granted, my Ryzen 7 in the laptop also has some chuggies on the beta branch, which is like eyebrow raising slightly, because the Ryzen 7 is a fairly new processor. It's only 2 generations old, I think, at this point. So it's like some of it might be optimizations. I don't know. But very good idea. WT, I will bring that up in the community ideas post that I make here in just a minute also. Feel free to drop by and literally put any ideas that you have in there, because I mean, just like Coder is one guy, I'm one guy. I can't think of all possibilities, even with a brain like mine, which is moderately exceptional. Not to toot my own. I've gotten to a point in my life where I'm going to just start tooting my own horn, because I've been falsely humble most of my life, and that hasn't worked out for me, so why not let the ego take over? IQ somewhere in the 130 to 140 range. I'm near genius. I'm really, really fucking smart. Like, maybe I should start telling people that instead of trying to explain to them, because you start explaining things to people from high intelligence perspectives, and they just go all glossy-eyed and like cross-eyed. It's a whole thing. At 37, 6, 7, 8, 4, 6. 36 years old. I've gotten to a point now where I'm like, I've done the humble thing. It has gotten me nowhere. Maybe it's time to start telling people, no, I'm smarter than you. Shut up. I typically reserve that for my friends. And mostly I do it jokingly, because most of my friends are, I tend to try to make friends that are, at the very least on my same level mentally, philosophically, more philosophically. Because well, we're not getting into the philosophy of intelligence. That's a 3-hour conversation, and I am going to go watch a person and then go to bed very shortly. So I'll see you all in Discord, and I plan on doing not a Delta V stream. Well, I might do a Delta V stream tomorrow. I plan on doing a cooking stream tomorrow, and then Tuesday is going to be in the shop. Wednesday's probably going to be in the shop, and then nothing again until next Monday. So I might do a Delta V stream again tomorrow night. I don't know. We'll find out. If I do, we'll see you there. If not, then very probably next week. So look forward to that, I guess. And if you're not in there already, Nightbot is a total jackass and has not put in the stuff. So before I go, come on, thank you. And OBS says sign in the chat. Like I'm typing in chat and it says sign in the chat. So I do have a Discord. It is open to the public as far as I'm aware. And I need to put another. I need to turn the Zapekist channel into just a gaming channel, and then put Zapekist specific or category, or make a whole other category for Delta V. I might make a whole other category for Delta V. But join the Discord. Come by and have a chat. There's other cool stuff that I'm trying to get going on. It's a small community so far. There's like 15 of us in the server. So join the ranks of the degenerates. Join us. etc., etc. If, you don't mind having yet another server in your probably endless list of servers already. So yeah, that. And, as always, whatever it is you're doing, I hope you guys have a great one, a good night, a good day, a good brand new viewer that comes in just as I'm ending. I am so sorry, friend, whoever you are. We are just closing down for the night. You don't have to go home, but you can't stay here, I am sad to say. So, whatever it is that you're doing, I hope you have a good one, a good night, a good day, a good walk, a good eat, a good stream if you stream, a good recording if you record, a good shoot if you're a model. Whatever it is, I hope that it is fantastic and phenomenal, and you have a great time doing it, and we will see you